History's
maddest bastards.
Wibbly-woo. Hello.
Right. Hello and welcome to History's Maddest Bastards.
Hello,
everyone.
We come back.
Yep, we're back. We're back. We've got me, we've got Matt, and we've got Simon, who are all still the same people as we were before.
The Queen is dead.
The Queen is dead. Long live the Queen.
I was having a nice day.
long
You
live the
reminded
king.
me.
Long live
The
the King.
king, not the Queen. We don't have another Queen.
I thought I could get through a day without thinking about Lizzie, and you fucked it up, haven't you?
Calm
You
down.
fucked it up.
Simon's a bit ill, so he's all off his face on lockets.
Look at the volume bar there. It's off
Yeah.
the charts for that one segment.
Yeah,
Great. Good start, guys.
Unfortunately, I mean, fair warning, I'm coughing a lot because I'm diseased.
Well, that's disease, Simon. As usual, I'm Matt.
I'm Stefan.
And welcome back to History's Maddest Bastards. And if you haven't met our illustrious judge right here, he's guilty of, he captured and enslaved thousands of elves, which he twisted and tortured into a race of damn dirty orcs.
I've never identified as Morgoth in my life.
Why do you do it though?
Because I wanted to make a TV show about it that would piss loads of people off.
It's not very good, is it?
No, it's not very good. Topical.
It's all
Anywho.
right. Anyway, so we once again return to you, our beloved viewers, with two more candidates.
Viewers, who's watching it?
Well, true. You can look at the probably badly photoshopped picture of Simon or Matt that I will have put as the thumbnail for this video.
They're just accurate photos of what we normally look like.
Yeah, so we return to you once again with two candidates for, potential candidates for Maddest Bastard.
Yes.
And I think, so should we have you both introduce your guys, or are we just going to go with Matt first?
I'm going first on this one because I deserve recompense.
Okay.
Why? You put me
Because he
through last
always
time.
loses, that's why.
I must overcome.
That's
Okay.
what?
There shall be a reckoning. I shall overcome.
Oh, I thought you said I must own come.
That's a
Right, so
different podcast
without
entirely.
a 20-minute intro this time, like we always seem to do somehow.
Yeah, we're smack.
This
Matt,
is
who is your...
definitely not for kids.
What's the theme? What are we doing?
Right.
Oh yeah, is there a theme for this
Yeah,
one?
it's old-timey 18th century, man. There we go.
Old-timey 18th
What,
century.
Victorian madness?
So, well, mine are like 18th. Yours are... Your guy was born in the 18th.
Mine was mid-19th.
Oh, fucking hell. But,
So I don't know what the theme is, but mine is a kind of Dr. Dolittle type who had a weird lifestyle when it came to animals, and I just realised that sounds like bestiality, but
yeah,
it's
did he
not.
bother him?
It's well,
Was he Welsh by any chance?
no, he
okay.
was English. I want to say English, but shall I just tell you who I've got this?
Yes.
time around?
Who's your guy?
Oh, I am pleased to Sorry, I don't know what happened with my mouth. That was really weird. I'm pleased to introduce my candidate, Francis Buckland.
Francis Buckland.
And my sources include some Chronicle website and also the brilliant book of Brewers. What are they called?
Brewers, Rogues, and Bad Men, whatever it's called.
Yeah, it's a brilliant book. You
Yeah,
should really
both
check
got
it
a
out.
copy. I thought Matt had stolen my copy, but it turns out he does have his own.
In hardback, mofo.
Okay, well, I mean, we all know that if the literature is prestigious enough to exist in Simon Brown's library, then it must be worth reading. So,
Well, Francis Buckland,
Sorry.
without any further ado, cough quietly. You
can't.
Leper
Disease.
of the brain and the body.
Oh.
Anyway, Francis Buckland. I will just read from my sheet.
Mm-hmm.
Every now and then, even Charles Darwin was dumbfounded by the mysteries of the natural world. On those occasions, he reached out for enlightenment to a repertory cast of scientific correspondents, one of whom was Francis Trevelyan Buckland, a raffish, tousle-haired star of the natural history craze that befell Britain in the mid-19th century. Buckland was a professional eccentric, as much showman as scientist.
oh, I like professional eccentrics.
I kind of relate to this guy in that he seemed to want to show off in every aspect. What's the point of being good at something if you can't show off?
Well, true.
Unless
But
you're a serial killer. That's how they get caught.
I'm not a serial killer for that time.
Well, we remember the time when you gave my ex serial killer advice.
I've never been on Netflix. But
Yes, you see the bullet rattles around in the skull. That's how he killed it.
I think we covered that in a previous
Yeah,
episode.
I think
If
we
you're not
did.
aware, I used to date someone. I went to the toilet and Matt appeared and told her how to murder a woman in a truck.
What? I don't remember saying
He
that.
said, well, if you own a truck, the best way is to put a 22 short bullet in the back of the head because it won't make a mess. And she went, oh, okay.
Good job I
Yeah.
don't own a truck, eh? Yet. Although he did groundbreaking work in pisciculture, the breeding of fish.
Oh, I thought that was the breeding of pies for a second.
I was going to call it pisciculture, but that just sounds even worse.
Culture of
Piss culture.
Pissing on fish.
That's just
Yeah.
German film, piss
That's
culture.
I'd accept that in Leeds Market, but not here.
All I can think of now is that Autobahn film from The Big Lebowski.
My
My dispatcher says there's a problem with Dana Cable.
I have come to fix the fridge. I am expert.
You all know what happens next. He
Oh no,
fixes
it's
the
not
cable.
the fridge. The cable. Yeah. Sorry, I'm mixing my porn references.
Yeah, we'll forgive you for that. That's fine.
Although he did groundbreaking work in pisciculture, the breeding of fish, Buckland was perhaps best known as a lecturer, beguiling huge audiences with his left field takes on botany, zoology, and human anatomy. Whether bottle feeding a porpoise in a railway
What?
waiting room,
What?
you heard. This is why I'm going to win. Or striding down Albany Street with a dwarf on one arm and a giant on the other.
Why do weird things always happen to dwarf people in these?
I
not
have
sure.
great respect for dwarves. They do well in films.
They do,
Yeah.
but like every time we cover someone, there's always someone who's done something weird to someone who's got that. Do you remember like there was Bloody Jep?
Blue Jack.
Oh yeah, he was Tycho Brahe's
Just
dwarf
saying,
assistant,
You
wasn't he?
made him Yorkshire against his will.
Jep.
Alright,
Yeah.
Taco.
He lived with a man who owned his own island, but he made him sleep under the dining room table.
I'll have to go back to the start of the sentence to
It's
get the
all
full
right.
thing. Whether bottle feeding a porpoise in a railway waiting room or striding down Albany Street with a dwarf on one arm and a giant on the other, he satisfied every popular expectation. I know, that's what I expect.
What? In what way are those things popular expectations? It's like, you know,
It's just like, oh, there's Buckland.
at what point
With
do
a
you...
tiny man and a big man.
It's too late to consider it. We're beyond that now.
I mean, when I leave the house, I don't tend to think, you know what, I really hope I see a man walking down the street with a dwarf on one arm and a
It's the sort
and
of
a
thing
giant.
you never expect, but you won't forget.
Do people
Yeah.
just assume that was normal areas off to make a Buckland sandwich and all
Well, I guess,
when
yeah.
large?
It doesn't. I don't know if it ever mentions them again. Kind of like
Who were they?
Tycho Brahe's moose.
What was he
Just
holding their hands?
came
What was
and
going on?
Well, he's just the sort of guy he was, a friend to all heights. As a general rule, the weirder the subject, the more likely Buckland was to have something to say about it.
He sounds like my dad.
The fighting behaviour of newts,
Do they fight each other?
apparently. The cannibalistic propensities of rats.
Sorry.
The best method for killing a boa constrictor.
What is it?
Well, you'll have to read his lectures to find out, I guess.
Oh.
The the best method for killing a boa constrictor. Gigantism. Walking fish. Flea circuses. Conjoined twins. In brackets it said he was a good friend of Chang and Eng Bunker.
Oh yeah, they
The-
were real.
The original Siamese twins.
Did you hear the sad stuff that one of them was a drunken sexy man and the other one wasn't?
Oh, I heard
So,
about that.
Like the more conservative twin got dragged along like, oh, let's go down boozer.
That's a bit of a bind, isn't it?
Yeah, I think they shared a liver as well, so...
Ooh.
Oh,
The,
man, that's
uh,
great.
Oh, how annoyed would you be if someone was destroying your
Liver.
shared organ through
You,
drink?
you wake up and your twin's giving you a hangover.
If your twin is drinking loads of booze, do you get drunk as well?
I think it depends how
It
you
must be.
connected.
It must be. I mean, if it's only like a superficial connection, it's just that your tissues at the edge are connected, then you've probably got all your own organs, right? But if you share an organ,
Yeah, if,
What governs drunkenness? Is it the brain or?
you do get people who are like stuck together at the brain, but I
it'd be,
think it's
it'd
different.
be the brain.
That's something I'd actually like to find out.
Yeah.
See, I'm teaching you stuff already.
It's an irrational fear of mine. But
Yeah,
I'll
thank
get
you,
it.
man.
The uses of human hair as manure and pagan burial rites, which we all know are just the fun things in life.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, that'll come back later. That'll come back later.
Tellingly, It was Buckland to whom Darwin turned to verify a claim that a dog and a lion had successfully bred in rural Russia.
Okay.
Why am I not surprised?
We all know...
This was the country that tried to produce the Monkey Man army.
This actually links...
Yeah. Well,
Yes,
they kind of did in a
that
way, didn't
links
they?
back to what we mentioned in a previous episode with good old jolly yard brush moustache Stalin and his attempts at creating a super army. Of
Yeah,
pigs.
he just thought if they kind of just syringed cum into chimps, they'd get really strong soldiers, but it didn't work.
Based on what I've seen from the Russian military this year, I'm not convinced that it wasn't successful.
Get out Nan's turkey baster.
Yeah, they are literally paying them in bananas.
Yeah. Well, literally, yeah.
Dishevelled, jovial, and bursting with the chuckling bonhomie of a real-life Mr. Fezziwig, Francis Buckland gained fame for his accessible take on scientific marginalia and notoriety for his faintly bohemian lifestyle, especially the vast, unruly menagerie of exotic animals he kept at his London town house.
Why is it that they all keep exotic animals? Like, I mean, what was it? Who was the last guy we did where he had a weird pet?
Oh, that's all of them.
Well, yeah, it's basically
All
of them,
great
isn't it?
men of
Hunter S.
history.
Thompson, who had a bird that he kept shaking the cage of. Going, this motherfucker won't talk to me.
Yeah,
Won't talk
that was
to me
him. That
anymore.
was him. Then you had Oliver Reed and Keith Moon with a tortoise that delivered shots to
the
them.
drinky tortoise.
And
yes.
then what was it? Errol Flynn just had a lion cub that he left in the hotel and said,
Oh, that's not like
"My missus will pick this."
Oliver Reed just brought. Oh no, it was a paper mache elephant, or was it a real
Oliver
dog?
Reed had a stuffed bird above his fireplace.
But there was a dog that he just dropped off at the
Oh, I don't know.
I
Keith
can't
Moon's
remember.
dog.
Oh yeah, Keith Moon abandoned his dog at Oliver Reed's house and just said, "I'm going to America." There you go.
Ah, that's the one.
A giant fiberglass elephant.
Well,
Yeah, so this guy had exotic animals, did he?
yes, and he kept them in his London town house. He usually had a variety of wildlife in his pockets. Meeting a Mr. Bell in Carlisle, who happened to mention that he kept storks,
Oh.
Buckland was disappointed that he had no frogs about his person to give to the storks. Buckland,
He sounds like my dad.
He sounds like my dad as well. What is going on?
this is a quote, but happily I had a lucifer matchbox full of little toads,
Oh my god.
about the size of beans.
That's the weird thing about men, like they're kind of mental until they reach the age of 40, then they're just sort of, I'm into frogs now.
I can oddly relate to this guy because I'm a big fan of tools and survival gear and that sort of thing that almost never is useful until the one situation where you actually need it.
Is this
and then
like-
people go, this
Sorry,
is the
I'm
man
just
with the-
making notes. Matchbox full of toads.
Yeah.
Size of beans.
No, is this
Yeah.
like
This is the man who has a bucket full of hammers.
Is
and
this
now
like-
we need to knock in some tent pegs.
Is this like the time when I told you the police were coming round to give us smart water?
What, and I had a razor blade with tape round
Well,
it?
no, you polished every weapon in the house.
We talked about this in the last
Oh,
episode.
no,
haven't we?
I don't remember her coming round, and if I knew that she was coming round, I probably wouldn't have done that. Or would
I told you she was coming round.
I don't know. I probably thought she was your girlfriend or something.
There's a woman in the house. I like weird. She must be dating Simon.
What if a police officer came through the door and I was like, you've done well with this one, Simon. A fine young filly.
There's a woman in Ivy's. She must be some tart who's come to see Simon.
You like a bird in uniform, do you? Ooh. I
so-
don't normally talk like that.
So he was disappointed he didn't happen to have any frogs to feed to the storks.
But he did have a matchbox full of little toads.
Well, that's a relief, isn't it? That's such a relief.
You'd never lose someone you were dating if you wore high heels.
No,
I
that's
want to
true.
hear about his dad.
Yeah, tell us about his
Like in a
dad.
busy.
Whenever there's a crazy man, there's always a crazier father. That's what
I've called this section.
Sorry,
I've called this Simon's ill. He's got consumption again.
I got consumption.
Maybe one day he'll die from it.
Oh, thank you.
you've called this section what? Sorry.
Dad.
Oh, right.
Just now. Buckland was the son of William Buckland, a distinguished Oxford geologist who was the first to make the discipline a respected subject of study in Britain. It was from his father that... Pardon me, a little burp there. It was from his father that he inherited his boundless energy and habit of outspokenness and characteristics that prompted Charles Darwin to say of William Buckland, quote, I don't know what did Darwin sound like?
So I imagine it was like, hey,
Okay.
there's a monkey, and I'm a monkey too.
All right.
Oh, there's tortoise
Okay,
on an
there's
island. That's his
Clearly
voice.
Greek Italian.
Oh,
very good natured. He seemed to me a vulgar and almost coarse man.
I'm Charles Darwin. My friend's a tortoise.
Stop ruining my quote.
Get on a boat.
He was incited more by a craving for notoriety, which sometimes made him act like a buffoon, than by a love of science.
Yeah, Charles Darwin banged his cousin.
I didn't know that.
I mean, it's based, but
What, he banged Buckland's cousin or his own cousin?
no, he banged his own. He married his own cousin.
I didn't know he spent 8 years studying barnacles, and he was quoted to say, "I hate a barnacle. I hate a barnacle as no man has ever done so before."
For some reason, this has just brought into my mind the Bill Bailey sketch where he's talking about how a barnacle has the largest penis.
Yeah.
So if you didn't know this, a barnacle has the largest penis in the scale with its body for any animal of that
You can thank
size
Charles
group.
Darwin. They stick to boats.
Yeah, and Bill Bailey's take on this was it's the sort of thing you'd hear in a pub where a guy's like, they stick to boats. And then a voice from the back will say, tell him nothing else.
I shall take my barnacle. All right, we're just quoting Bill Bailey.
Yeah, we are,
I shall
actually.
take
Carry
my
on,
barnacle
carry on.
information to the grave.
Do you think you could trick someone into thinking that if they got scratched by a barnacle, they'd get a big willy?
Well, like Spider-Man.
Shall I text my housemate now? Just see what he
Yeah,
says.
just be like,
You'd have
Benji, if
See how quickly he flies off to Skegness.
If we dragged you under a boat for a laugh, would your willy get better?
It'd have to be a radioactive barnacle that's stuck to a U-boat or something like
If you're a big willy barnacle man, who'd be your nemesis?
that. What a horrific.
Boat cleaner man. I don't know.
Oh, I don't know. Well, what eats barnacles? Like-
Crab girl.
Well, that's most of my days.
I mean,
in
crab girl in general is the nemesis of all men, I think.
laundry.
Anyway,
I'll never get rid of them. They'll be in your carpet.
on his honeymoon, William and his wife
Get a wall out.
were taken to the shrine of Saint Rosalia in Palermo. The moment he saw her bones preserved as relics, Buckland exclaimed, "Those are the bones of a goat!" I'm paraphrasing slightly. He probably didn't say it like that, but if he did,
Well,
That
you just noticed they were fake.
yeah, because he was so good at identifying animal bones.
Like a Victorian CSI man.
Furious priests escorted the Bucklands out and later removed the bones from public view.
So he was right, that's what you're saying.
He may have been right.
Getting dragged out like the Soylent Green man.
He
Like,
knew.
no, that's you.
He clearly knew his goat bones.
Was that his father or him that said that?
His father.
This
Right.
reminds me of an enraging moment in my youth when I paid to go to a bar where they had a free Bailey's fountain and I got chucked out. They claimed I got chucked out because I put my head in it. But I remember I looked round the back and there was a curtain and it wasn't Bailey's, it was Tesco Irish Cream. And I was shouting like, it's Tesco Irish Cream! While getting dragged out the door going, they're liars!
My sister once told a story of how she and a bunch of people from school, they went up Penny Ghent in the Ribble Valley. You know, the Three Peaks. They went up Penny Ghent and they found a sheep or a goat up there. And one guy had a licorice stick and he shoved it up the sheep's nose and made it sneeze.
Oh,
Christ.
Yeah, they removed the bones. Some years later, on a visit to a foreign cathedral, William and his son Frank were shown a patch of floor marked with the blood of a martyr, stains that miraculously appeared fresh every day. William dipped his finger in the blood, tasted it and said, "I can tell you what this is. Bat's urine."
what a hero.
It's like the tracker that you don't expect in honey places
Yeah.
to take you through the Vatican. Have you ever been to the Vatican?
No, I haven't been.
I'd like to go.
I don't know. I don't know if I could behave myself in Diddler HQ.
Oh,
Well, can I just ask, so when his father dips his fingers in the blood of the martyrs and declares it to be bass urine, are we thinking he tasted the...
Yeah, he knows the
did
difference.
I mention that
So he knows
tasted
what
it?
bass urine tastes like.
Did I mention that he tasted it? Because it just say he tasted
Oh,
it.
right, yeah. So,
Dipped his finger in the blood, tasted it, and said, "I can tell you what this is. Bat's urine."
This
oh,
man.
bat's urine. I thought you
Yeah.
said bass urine. I was
No,
thinking like...
bats. Well, like sea
fish.
bats.
Well, for one thing, yeah, like tasting the urine of a creature that doesn't live in water. I guess that's kind of weird, but at least it's quite easy. But how are you going to... What lengths must you have to go to extract concentrated urine from something that lives in water?
I'll say
pretty crazy.
I'll say something in defence of Francis Buckland. If he was around today, he would not get taken in by an eBay piss scam.
Well, that was his dad tasting back urine.
Well, he wouldn't be like this doesn't come from a cam girl. Actually, no, he does.
Since Francis was there at the time,
This is come from a Labrador.
there is a use, isn't there, for bat droppings, guano?
Yeah, they make gunpowder out of it.
Really?
Yeah, they used to. There were wars over batshit islands.
Why is it so good?
I don't know. They used to make gunpowder. I don't remember how, but there were whole wars fought over control of where the batshit is. Was
In your face.
apparently.
Intellectual pursuit. William Buckland was the patriarch of a large and loving family, seemingly a far kinder man than his brother John, a sadist who ran the school at which the Buckland children were educated, and who disfigured the 9-year-old Francis's right hand during a ferocious beating. In an emphatically British way...
Sorry, that was a laugh.
In an emphatically British way, William wrote firmly but politely to his brother to stress the importance of not causing any more permanent damage to his children, outlining the areas of the body where a good thrashing may or may not reasonably be given.
My God.
Get him on the odd bot. He doesn't need that.
I've got another quote. Let boys be flogged or caned on the back and shoulders as much as may be needful, but let them not be maimed with an inflexible ruler.
What a quote that is.
A floppy ruler is fine. I bought a really nice pencil case recently.
Okay.
It's one of those Oxford Instruments ones.
Oh,
and
the ones
everything
you
I
get
need to be an engineer.
when you go to secondary school, you get the special pencil case.
Yeah, but everybody used to write shit on it.
Yeah, I used to stab people with the compass.
I wrote moon bears on mine once and it freaked a guy out.
Why would it freak someone out?
I don't know.
Mine said real men believe in Jesus.
I think mine had
nice,
a
isn't
naughty
it?
symbol on it.
Oh, that's surprising, coming from Watchlist Harrison.
Doesn't look a bit like Jesus.
Oh.
Right. In the Buckland household, oddness was next to godliness. Drawing room tables were decorated with lizard feces and clumps of lava from Mount Etna. Instead of hobby horses, because all children play on hobby horses. It's quite fun. You just need a sock and a broom handle or something like that.
I know, not all of them. I had to store a rocking horse in this house for a long time because my niece was scared of it.
Oh.
And she turned up one day demanding it.
I get the feeling if
That
your niece
annoys
was
me.
around, I should just ride the rocking horse with a
Just
grin
like, it's
on my
mine now. It's mine. You didn't want it.
face. Instead of hobby horses, the children had the corpses. The children had the corpses of dead crocodiles to ride around on. They learned to distinguish between types of animal urine by taste alone.
No way. I mean, it's not like their father's an expert on this.
So I was thinking that their dad was the only one tasting bat urine, but actually it was the kids as well.
The terrifying thing is if you were like his teenage son, you came home pissed and you had an accident, you know he wouldn't let you get away with it. Oh, I think the dog did that. Wait a minute. Gets his little straw out. That's not dog piss.
That's anteater. What you got there is a small breed of tapir.
How do you train up for that? Is it like a sommelier course?
Oh,
Where you just have to like swirl it around in your mouth like, yes, that's come from an otter.
WSET for the win.
You'll notice the bear's piss has a grainier taste than most.
This one must have had a small kidney infection. Just
That's
opening a cracking open a can there. Francis took his father's gleeful childlike curiosity about the wondrous variety of life on Earth and magnified it into a philosophy for living and the core of a defiantly strange personality.
Oh my God.
At his boarding school, he shared his room with rats, an owl, a buzzard, a magpie, and a raccoon.
That's amazing.
And he became popular for providing feasts for the other boys with grilled trout and field mice poached from the land.
Field mice.
Poached from the land of a neighbouring farmer. They're kind of like naughty hobbits if they just, instead of raiding vegetables, they just started strangling the local livestock. Mini beasts.
Is that how we got the fish? You just get in a river and just start strangling it like
You can punch it in the face like in the In-Betweeners. As a student at Oxford, his menagerie took a turn for the exotic. An eagle, a jackal, a pariah dog.
What's a pariah dog?
A kind of dog that's particularly up itself. I don't know.
It's just a dog that's been thrown out of polite society.
Yeah. You're not welcome here anymore.
Pariah dog. Are you sure it doesn't say prairie dog?
Turning. I'm not sure. It says pariah.
I mean,
It could be a prairie dog. It says
Don't know.
pariah.
Let's go with pariah dog. I like this.
Pariah dog. Marmots, guinea pigs,
Nice marmot.
snakes, a chameleon, a monkey, and a bear called Tilgath Pileser,
nice.
named after a king of ancient Assyria.
That's just it.
I really like chameleons, actually. Did I ever tell you about when I had to rescue a chameleon?
No.
In Bradford, the town where I'm from. Basically, one of my mum's friends who lived a couple of streets away from us phoned her up in the morning before I'd gone to school. I was in sixth form in those days. And asked if I could come and rescue an iguana that was on her garden wall. So I thought that this thing was going to be like a dinosaur, like 3 feet long, covered in claws and spines.
And you
So-
still went to try and help.
Well, I was looking after I used to look after a red-eared terrapin that sort of belonged to the ex of my sister. I got lumped with. So
I just can I just say I love how you give us all of the information. It's like well, there's also a red-eared terrapin who belonged to
it was
the
just vicious
ex-wife.
bastard. Well, I used to feed him by hand until he bit me once, and then I was forced to hold him underwater until he let go.
What?
Because they breathe air.
That's very
It
violent.
took about 12 minutes.
Oh, you're better with lizards than I am. I used to get bullied by a bearded dragon. One used to live in this very room, and he was a big lad. And when he wanted to come out, and when he used to he belonged to the ex. When he wanted to come out, he'd start slapping the glass, and he wouldn't stop until I let him out. So he was like, "Oh, taboo, let me in." So I'd have to give him a little walk outside, and he'd be like, "Yeah, let me back in, you little cunt."
Like a weird Charles Bronson. except
Pacing up and down, let me out of this.
You know what?
town.
One of my
beard
favorite
instead of a moustache.
things about this podcast is that as you guys tell me about each of your candidates, the little tidbits that you give us about your own history and the weird things that you've done, it means that I never say this, but I should point out you actually finished not that far behind the candidates in terms of
How dare
the
you?
crazy scale.
One day we might have to do an episode about each other, but I feel that would...
Yeah, just give us the best
You know-
stories about each.
You know what
That
makes
would
me
be very
very
damaging.
You know what makes me very angry about bearded dragons though, because they're quite intelligent. If you change their water, they shit in it and then they look at you.
Really?
Yeah,
With a smile on their face.
Just
They're meant to
like-
be really friendly, aren't
you
they?
know. Well, this fucking one wouldn't.
I used to look after a leopard gecko in school. I once dropped it on the floor and
Oh
it
my
just
God.
ran off. I was really worried I'd hurt it, but it didn't seem
Are
that
you one of
worse
these
for wear.
children who kills the school pet?
No! There was a kid who killed... We had a tank full of frog spawn that turned into tadpoles, and some little arsehole at school in my class poured washing up liquid in the tank
Oh my
and
God.
it died.
Was it
It was quite sad. But the chameleon, it turned out to be called Georgia, who belonged to a lady who lived around the corner of our street. She had over 200 tortoises and turtles. My niece was just a little toddler at the time, so she got to see reptiles up close. But we were a bit careful not to let her near the huge dinosaur one.
How did that house smell? What was it?
Like poo.
Anyway, Francis Buckland.
Francis Buckland. He had that bear named after an Assyrian king. Tilgath Pileser, I'm trying to get the name right, dressed in a cap and gown, attended the Oxford meeting of the British Association.
Wait. This was the bear. This was the bear. Okay.
Yeah, this was his bear. Tilgath Pileser, dressed in a cap and gown, so like an academic cap and gown, like a mortar sort of thing. I don't know. Attended the Oxford meeting of the British Association in 1847, where Lord Horton attempted to mesmerise him.
What? How do you mesmerise a bear?
Well, this made the bear angry, but he gradually yielded to the influence and at last fell senseless to the ground.
Why aren't we covering Lord Horton?
Maybe one day we will. The bear and the monkey, in particular, were prone to roaming, and on several occasions Francis had to charge across plush college quadrangles in pursuit of them. You imagine that? No, bear! No!
No, bear.
No! Restrain yourself, bear! This is not the time for it.
So his bear just used to go wandering about, basically.
Yeah.
Dad trashed him.
How... It'd really get you into the habit of trying to lock doors, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would.
I get the feeling if a bear wears an academic cap and gown, then it also like holds a degree and knows how to open doors and
Yeah. To be fair, though, we'll give
use
anyone
tableware and
What was the bear's degree in there? That's what we need to know.
physics.
To be fair,
That
probably
makes sense, actually, yeah.
a bear's probably got more sense than most academics these days, anyway.
Probably.
He might have been a PE teacher.
Could have been.
Bear would be a good PE teacher, he'd just chase you.
Wrestling.
I've heard they're quite good at loading artillery shells.
If we ever do an animals version of History's Maddest Bastards, I know which bear I want to put in.
Oh, we're not doing the Polish Army bear. Everyone's
Oh,
done Wojtek.
Wojtek the bear!
Everyone's done the Polish Army bear.
Everybody knows Wojtek the bear is the best thing.
Can we do the clever lions who were in Egypt and they ate a load of people?
Oh, no.
Yeah, I
No.
guess it, yeah.
How are
Knock
we doing
yourself
for
out.
time? Let's
No, that was good.
We're
'cause
32 minutes in.
that was
let's
good.
push on.
Oh no, that was amazing because the British military had to send these like huntsmen to get them, and the lions kept outsmarting them and eating them.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I do have my own candidates for if we're doing animals. I want to do the emus, the emu wars.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we should do that.
That's amazing.
That's a good one.
Australia's greatest defeat.
Yes.
They'll forgive Turkey, but not the emus.
So, even after he'd left university and entered the army as a surgeon, his reputation was marked more by his love of practical jokes.
Oh no.
He dressed his capuchin monkey in a miniature version of the regimental uniform
Amazing.
than by any professional
Sorry.
than by any professional accomplishments. He fainted at his first operation and soon decided that operating on live human beings was less enjoyable than dissecting dead chickens.
Wait, oh, and he was a surgeon and he fainted during an operation.
Yeah, I don't think he was a very good surgeon.
Yeah, that's not good.
So, when did he... Well, in 1854, Buckland stepped away from the army to write humorous, trivia-laden essays about the oddities of the natural world. Take, for example, an essay about his beloved monkeys, Jacko and Jenny.
He had a monkey called Jacko.
Yes. Jacko, is that the weirdest thing about them, was that their name was Jacko?
Yeah, it's just sort of prefiguring what would happen one day.
Oh, you have no idea.
With
Listen to this.
MJ and his monkeys.
Jacko and Jenny were given beer daily,
Oh no.
except on Sundays, when they drank port.
Wait, were these monkeys, did you say?
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be mental to give him beer on a Sunday.
Once,
This is going to be good.
once when Jenny escaped into some nearby trees, Buckland resolved the situation by repeatedly shooting at her with a shotgun.
I was going to say for a laugh, oh, did he try and throw her down?
I've got a quote.
Oh my god.
At length, after repeated firings, he reported breezily, complimenting himself on his quick thinking. She became so frightened and subdued that she seemed to have lost all presence of mind and allowed a man to get on the tree and catch her.
That's kind of the Victorian approach to everything. Just
That's
shoot at them until they cheer
That's how
up.
they treated their wives, isn't it?
Yes.
She lost all presence of mind.
She's got hysteria. She looks a bit sad, I know.
It's like those old Harry Enfield sketches. The women, know your limits, for pity's sake, don't drive, and all that.
That was the Victorian approach. They're like, oh, wife looks depressed. Why don't you shoot a 10 ball next to her head? That'll cheer her right up.
I do want to state that that's not how I feel about women in real life.
Yeah, me too.
Yes.
Nah, 10 ball's too much.
How does it work?
I think the lower the number, the bigger the gun.
Like an 8 gauge is
You can buy
like
an
an
8
aircraft
gauge,
cannon.
but it's absurd, yeah. Can we get...
Like with steel, I guess, like 8 gauge steel is thicker than 12 gauge steel or something like that.
Did you just ask if we can get a shotgun?
Yeah, can we have one?
I'm surprised you don't have one already, Stefan.
Well, I may have a Kalashnikov at home, but
We'll edit that out.
That's an airsoft. That's an
yeah,
airsoft.
it's very realistic though.
We'll edit all this out. It's boring.
I don't pose with it in front of a mirror,
No,
twirling
because
my moustache and
Yeah.
saying "God rule Ukraine."
the trouble is, though, you've got a long history of holding Kalashnikovs wearing a balaclava.
I
What,
don't
Matt?
have a long history. That was one time in second year when I had a housemate who may have been on the autistic spectrum.
Was this when you terrified him by claiming to be in the IRA and you searched him up against the
just
wall?
because-
I was just going
I-
to ask if that was when you went to Gringotts Goblins. Yeah.
Just because I put on a balaclava, dressed in full camo gear, and rushed into the kitchen shouting, "Get down, get the fuck down, shut up and back up, hands on your head, face on the floor," and everything. I didn't, because there was my other housemate in the kitchen as well at the time, and she just went, oh, very good. He full on believed that he was under a terrorist attack, and I just managed to get him to lay down on the floor in the stress position that they do with the SAS.
I'm glad that you continue, like, check what he's got in his little pockets.
Yeah.
I've never seen a person respond to having a gun pointed at him in such fashion.
Yeah, people don't like it.
Yeah, what a weirdo. It was a toy gun. It was blue. It had a big orange pepper at the end.
Sorry.
And it was also Halloween, so I was dressed up as a soldier
Yeah.
With a balaclava and an Irish accent.
in my own house.
Well, I dressed as all
I
kind of things in my
Didn't
own
have an
house.
Irish accent. That would have been weird.
Yeah, okay.
Francis
Is that the
Buckland.
truth, or is that more of your fucking lies, Matthew?
Fucking lies.
You killed
know-
my baby brother.
We know a big Irish fellow who's lovely, and he
He's
forces me to
I-
buy t-shirts.
He's nice, but no one will know who this is, but he told me he keeps like a pin in his collar and he showed me it. Were you there when he did it?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Matt knows that he's a nice, large Irishman who does certain hobbies that we do. And
He's great.
he pulled it out and he always has this pin in like the collar of his rugby shirt. And I said, "What's that for?" He said, "I pop kiddies' balloons, then I put it away."
He convinced
Yeah, no one believes the kid.
this year in the summer at a reenactment show, because have we mentioned we do reenactment?
We never bring that up.
He convinced me to buy a t-shirt dated from 2016. They had a load left over that he'd found, and he told me if I didn't buy one, I will hang you by your fucking ankles. Man,
Didn't he upset one of your friends once because he threw a potato at his face?
they were the Germans.
Wait, the Germans threw
They were
potato.
throwing potatoes at the Irish, and my friends got caught in the crossfire. They went back to their own camp.
Did they not side with the Irish against the Germans?
No, and the only people that night who wanted to sing Irish folk songs were the Poles.
Was this when like, a man turned up and just started hitting people?
No,
Was that when one of our friends sang
Yes,
a few
actually,
marching
yeah.
songs?
maybe.
Anyway, Francis Buckland.
Yeah.
Francis Buckland. Jacko proved harder to discipline than Jenny.
The other monkey is this.
Jenny.
Yeah. But much of what Buckland took for his mischief, tearing jars off shelves and defecating on the floor when
Oh,
locked in a kitchen cupboard for several hours.
Wait, what?
He locked him in a kitchen cupboard for several hours so he'd defecate on the floor, and that was naughty.
You know, there was a man in the 20th century who's now condemned because all his experiments revolved around if I put a monkey in a cupboard for several days, it'll go mental.
Yeah, apparently they do.
Yeah, it's not good for him.
Attempting to break loose when chained to the fireplace, pulling at the hair of visiting ladies,
Well, we all do that.
they were surely the symptoms of a highly disturbed animal.
Yeah, that's not a happy monkey.
Buckland finally got one over on Jacko by tying him up in a canvas bag and hanging it from a peg for 3 hours
Show him.
while the animal writhed around inside.
Oh, dear.
2 years later, when Jacko died,
2 years.
Buckland ensured that he remained part of daily family life by having him skinned and turned into a tablecloth.
Oh my god. Would that upset the children? Like, now, Jacko's got away now.
Did he
But
leave-
he's still with us, look at this!
I like to hope he left the face on.
Look, if we prop him up, we can put your toy train up his bot like his little tunnel. Isn't that nice?
I'm not dead, Mother.
Jesus Christ. All right, carry on.
Buckland was a God-fearing creationist, and this meant he was never able to accept Darwin's theory of evolution. I was brought up in the principles of church and state, and I will never admit it.
So God-fearing Christian knows that animals are there to be messed about with.
You and your
Nothing
strange
else.
finches with different sized beaks. It's all Tommy rot. I tell you.
Monkeys have one purpose, to be goofy.
What's the point in this tortoise? It's far too big.
Yeah, we should sort them out.
Kick him in the ghoulies.
Get down those islands. Get them.
I want to take
Did
a leaf.
Darwin eat most of those tortoises?
People certainly they figured out if you turn them on their back, they can't get up again.
Yeah, that'll show.
So it's like manatees. I fully understand. I'm not saying I necessarily support it, but I fully understand why people ate nearly all the manatees that they were, because they're fat and slow and useless. And they taste delicious. They're just walking platters of meat. Except they don't walk, they swim.
If only the poor tasted as
Thanks for
good.
clarifying.
What would happen if you put a manatee on land?
It'd probably die.
You probably just scuffle about a little bit.
Then what is the point? Hey? They're not a
it'll
fish,
probably
they're
just
not a
like-
human. I can't believe sailors reckoned that they sat on rocks or whatever with women with
Yeah, but I think
seashell bras.
back in those days they were more into the old big old booties. So they'd
Anything-
see a manatee at the time and go, oh fucking hell.
Anything with a pulse and a hole in its backside was fair game to those long seafaring soldiers.
Jesus
I
Christ, yeah. I'm glad he said with a pulse, because otherwise it would have been weird.
Oh, it'd be weird to
Yeah.
bum a dead manatee.
That would be a dead manatee, not a
trick's
dead
to
man. That
Get
would
it
be
with
weird.
get it with the old
dear.
propellers first, so it's wounded. Then you fuck it in the hole.
I wonder how many sea shanties there are about buggering manatees on rocks.
Oh, it's a pretty
man.
good.
Well, knowing
grey
some of our
skin.
listeners, I'm sure one of them would be willing to write one and send it in.
Oh, God. That religious belief led Buckland to a line of scientific inquiry, both grander and more absurd than his usual interests. In 1860, he became a founding member of the Acclimatization Society, devoted to broadening the varieties of animal species native to the British Isles. This sounds like a recipe for ecological disaster.
This was a man who tried to help a monkey by shooting at it.
He was like the 19th century Tiger King.
Pretty much, yeah.
I love the animal.
So what was his aim with this then?
Shooting
Well,
monkeys.
the
Sort 'em
society wanted rare deer from Virginia.
Sorry.
The society wanted rare deer from Virginia and Iran, yaks and bison, reindeer, eland, wapiti, and kangaroos, all roaming through Britain's parks, woodlands, and the grounds of its
We
stately
could have had
homes.
kangaroos.
I was just thinking that. Can you imagine,
I think we already do. Don't we?
you just know that at some point some drunk chav is going to go viral fighting a kangaroo in Britain, and we'll be
I
like,
don't think they've got the moves for a kangaroo.
probably not. Like the kangaroo probably do him in pretty quick. I think.
Well,
yeah.
He had a reason behind
Have you
this.
seen that kangaroos actually faint a bit when they fight? They do a little like whoop whoop.
Oh, they got some skill then.
Yeah,
Interesting.
they're terrifying.
Do you remember that video of the man punching a kangaroo in the face because
No.
he had to go at his dog? What
Yeah,
year was
vaguely.
that? 2016 or
I
something?
can't remember.
You know,
Anyway, please.
I
continue.
must say the video that makes me proudest to be an Englishman is the man who punches a seagull.
What?
I've seen that. I've seen
Yeah,
that.
I don't
yeah.
remember
He's got an
that.
handful of chips. A seagull comes in and he just punches it out of the sky.
His head.
And the girl filming it's like, Dad! And he just goes, he was after my fucking chips.
Rule Britannia.
That's how we won the world.
Yeah. And this was not simply to beautify the countryside, but to tackle Malthusian fears of an imminent food crisis. Britain's population boomed during the Industrial Revolution. Of course, British dinner plates never were piled high with marsupials and crassid birds.
If only.
The most exotic species the society managed to introduce was the North American grey squirrel.
Oh, that bastard!
It was them!
I thought
They
they-
eradicated the Reds!
I thought they came. Sorry,
Oh, okay.
I thought they came on the boats.
I think
By
I heard
European.
they did,
I thought
yeah.
it was a mistake.
I thought it
Whoa.
was a mistake. As well.
Oh, you're
What
gonna
did he
lose.
bring them then? Or
I don't know. All I remember from my childhood was they were introduced by Europeans. I always read these books thinking, those bloody Europeans. Hey, Brexit was right. Nah.
I've got a top tip with a warning.
I was never pro-Brexit, by the way.
I won't go to that. But, during lockdown, when no venues were open and I was attempting to date, I found out that there's a park.
Carbon date.
Well, there's a park where in the city where we all, well, Matt doesn't live here at the moment, but where we're all living, and the squirrels were so overfed that if you put your hand out, they'll sit on your hand and just eat seeds.
Yeah, they do. No, one of them was doing that to my friend the other day, actually.
Yeah, so I found out if I went on dates for about an hour, I could convince a girl that I was a nice person.
It's
Like,
like a
oh,
druid
yeah,
or something.
I was like it.
Do they ever grab hold of a speaking spell sort of thing and say, pray for Mojo?
I think that was probably like the one that was tied to a fireplace and put in a
That was old
canvas
Jacko.
bag and hung from the
Jacko
ceiling.
the monkey.
The sad thing is, this monkey's treatment is like a dream holiday for a German businessman. So they put me in a canvas bag and beat me up.
Well, he never did that well, really, in his dreams of introducing foreign species into England.
Apart from the grey squirrels.
Neither did Buckland's other great hope for the acclimatization society take off. Zoophagy. The study of animals through eating them.
Well, I'm sorry. What did he coin that term himself, or?
I think the society may have done, but maybe he did. Who knows? He was a big eater of foreign species of animal. Let's save these animals by cutting them up with knives.
Was this all just a massive excuse? Like, I
Showing
love
them
animals. That's why I have to eat this bear.
I
I have
You
to
ever
save
eaten
them.
My handwriting has
I've got
changed
friends
since I've
who-
become drunk. Interesting.
Yeah, I'll do that. Actually, looking at the top and the bottom, it's really weird because Mr. Harrison doesn't really get noticeably drunk. But it's like when Guy Fawkes got tortured and you see like his signature later and it's all
he could
fucked
barely
up.
sign his own name because his arms are pulled out of their sockets.
Well, and also he was Catholic, they've got bad handwriting
He
anyway.
always wanted to grow a few extra inches.
I went to Catholic school and they taught us to write all joined up and neat, and then everybody forgot how to do that
Oh.
except me.
All Catholic school taught me was that you had to leave the nuns alone.
The
We didn't even have nuns.
The
Yeah,
teachings
that
of
was mean.
the teachings of Cathol and everything. Is good old Eddie is. Anyway,
Maybe I'm well.
eating them right. Every year, the society held a lavish zoophagical banquet at which guests would sample animal meats. I nearly said alien meats, but it's animal meats
Oh, he would have.
from far-flung regions of the world. The menu for a typical banquet might include Chinese sheep, wild boar from Germany, kangaroo, Syrian pig, curacao, long-eared rabbit, pin-tailed duck, and salted mullet eggs from the Bay of Naples.
This does sound like the kind of man who'd be one of your wacky friends, though, man.
Yes, it does.
I
He's
would
someone
definitely go to one of these
He's
nights.
someone that like you'd be friends with, but would be enraged by at the same time.
I
Yeah.
once got invited to a vegan drumming party
Oh, Jesus
with a
Christ.
barbecue at a vicarage
Fucking
with a barbecue
hell.
around the back. There was only one man with dreadlocks and he had a didgeridoo, but he was
Oh
in the
my
minority.
god.
But it was a really good night. There was an actual quartet
No,
of
it wasn't a good night. It was just-
qualified music teachers that played in a string quartet.
Oh.
And I took my mandolin, which had a string missing. And
Yeah, they wouldn't have
I
noticed.
just randomly made up chords to go along with
Well,
some
they wouldn't
really
have noticed 'cause-
excellent acoustic string work.
That party was just. It sounds like a testosterone Hoover.
Yeah.
It was a bit odd.
Was
but
it
they
just
had a
smelly
lot of-
people trying to get laid?
They had a lot of cast iron period fireplaces, so it was good in my book.
I'm surprised they allowed that.
Buckland,
Oh, I hate him.
Buckland died relatively young, 2 days after his 54th birthday in 1880.
Was he punched by a kangaroo?
No. The likely cause of his death was a severe respiratory problem. That's not funny.
I was going to say, was he like one of these mad cat women who like dies of some kind of respiratory infection because of all the shit in the air?
No. The likely cause of his death was a severe respiratory problem brought on by pipes, cigars, and a predilection for exposing himself to the wind, the rain, and the snow.
Oh.
I like to get wet through, he said, of sitting on an open-topped London omnibus.
That's why I got ill. Well, I got wet.
And the harder it rains or blows, the more I enjoy my ride.
Do you
his-
think he was very, very autistic?
Could have been, yeah.
Maybe.
I like buses and things with numbers.
I like
Let's
big
go.
buses. I like big buses, and I cannot lie. You other brothers can't deny. Anyway, his passing elicited dozens of letters of condolences to his wife and children, despite his house being chock-a-block with shrieking violent animals and pickled corpses in jars. Buckland had countless friends and a blissfully happy home life.
Hang on, what happens if you're the new monkey? And goes, that's your old friend Jim Jom, and he's floating about like a pickle. Look at him! It's your gherkin cousin. I'm going to put him in a sandwich later.
I'm Pickle Rick.
Oh, don't bring that up, please.
And where's my place? It says he had a blissfully happy home life, even though he instructed his brother on the appropriate places to hit children on the shoulders and back. But with a flexible ruler, don't forget.
That was his dad, wasn't it, that said that? I think.
Yeah, his dad, his uncle disfigured his hand.
Yeah, I mean his dad gave him the...
You know, as a child at school,
okay,
I tried to use the bendy ruler argument. Like, no, I hit you with the bendy ruler, it's alright. No one allows it.
Did you ever... How forbidden was it in your school? We used to get a ruler and go...
Oh,
That
actually...
was unexpectedly forbidden.
Can you just please make that sound again, Matt? And one more time. Nice, okay.
Actually...
It depends how close you held it to the table, because if you held it far along, you went boom.
Actually, I've got a really boring story. The week I started sixth form, I asked a girl if I could borrow a ruler, and she went, alright. And my school got loads of new people in for sixth form, because it was the college in the area. Mm-hmm. And I borrowed a ruler, because I need to do a straight line. And then I did the thing like, oh, what's it? And it just shattered. And she didn't talk to me for the next 2 years.
I was at a reenactment show when a friend of mine who does shinty as a sport, he borrowed a crossbow off some well-meaning reenactor, and he'd never shot a crossbow or a bow before, seemingly. You know how you shouldn't shoot them without an arrow or a bolt on?
Smashes them up.
She was just about to say, now don't, and he just shot it with no bolt on it. The whole thing disintegrated, essentially. But the look on her face was unbelievably distraught.
I can imagine, yeah.
He was a bad man.
Anyway, he's alright. In the years after his... Sorry, this isn't funny. In the years after his death, certain friends publicly recalled times when Buckland performed acts of spectacular kindness, providing meals, clothing, and train tickets for strangers in distress.
Did he pickle them?
No, he was constantly buying gifts and performing unsolicited favours for friends and acquaintances. As one obituarist put it, no man ever lived with a kinder heart. I don't know why they all sound like Matt Berry, but that's just me.
They sound like the gnomes from your voice acting gig.
It was the secret of Buckland's peculiar success, although poor old Jacko might not have agreed.
No, I don't think he
sounds
would have.
like it. But he sounds like a kind bloke really underneath it all. So
I think for his time it was probably normal. Yeah, I've been kind to this chimpanzee, I've shot his foot off.
So
they love it.
Here endeth the lesson of Francis
Very
Buckland.
good, thank you very much.
That was my contribution. What do you think? You're dead, you are. You're dead.
I think he
I
was a
thoroughly
very
enjoyed
nice
that.
man.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have a little break, and then we'll do my side.
Very good, very good.
I've got an idea. I think we should get Powerpuff Girls style little cartoons of ourselves.
Oh, which one would you be?
He'd be me.
Probably be Matt, I guess.
I'd be Mojo Jojo.
I don't know anything about the Powerpuff
No, that'd be my
Girls.
housemate, surely.
It's not a...
Anyway, Simon, who have you got for us today?
I was going to do a scary Tudor man called Dr. John D because it was going to be spooky Halloween special, but it was too spooky and I couldn't make it funny.
My guy's not spooky at all. So.
Well, he shot a monkey. That's quite spooky.
And they did ride crocodile corpses.
That's quite spooky.
Yeah, all right, fair enough.
It's very much in the realm of the girls with funny dyed hair.
Who have you got? Who
have we got? Instead, for episode 3, we covered Sir Francis Dashwood, who ran what was known as the Hellfire Club.
With the shaved baboon.
Yes, we'll get back to that.
Oh, no.
It turns out he didn't actually run the first Hellfire Club. There were several. So I thought I'd do a menagerie of several former members.
Oh, collective.
So instead of one person going up against Matt, I just think there's a movement of several.
Yeah, because you're so inferior to me, you need more numbers.
Okay.
You might like some of them. Maybe one of them could win.
Would you like me to rate them separately or take them as a collective?
Did you say
bunch?
rate?
Well,
Yeah.
I thought we could
Yes.
use like a shotgun method where I've just got loads of them.
Spam!
Okay.
Like Buckland shooting a defenceless monkey.
I think he's
Fair
backed into a corner.
Anyway, I'm going to cover the early history of the Hellfire clubs. For anyone who hasn't listened to the third episode, Hellfire clubs were basically, during the 18th century, wealthy and influential men had drinking and sexy time clubs where they kind of pretended to do satanic stuff, but it sounds like that was all just a bit of a laugh.
Bit
Well,
of a meme.
they've
yeah.
obviously left that by the wayside in history.
Yeah. Oh wow. An early version was founded in the early 18th century, and it was in the Eagle Tavern in Dublin.
Evil Tavern.
The Eagle.
Oh, the Eagle.
I'm diseased, so my voice is
I
fucked.
thought it was like
The
some
Evil Tavern!
glowing green tavern that had Evil Tavern and some witch.
No, they weren't baddies from an 80s cartoon.
To be fair,
no.
that is quite Halloweenish.
Okay, in the Evil Tavern.
In the
yes.
Eagle Tavern in Dublin, its
Evil.
founder was Philip Wharton, who encouraged the members, this was revolutionary at the time, to enjoy sin for its own sake. So just be like, I've been naughty today, that was good.
That doesn't sound
Oh. Its members caused a bit of a local scandal because they used to gamble on Sundays. God
forbid. Did
What
they,
rebels they are.
Oh,
did they
I've never been in the
pork
casino on a
Fridays?
Sunday in my life. Never.
oh no, Stefan would never go to a casino and lose all his earnings on a sticky carpet.
I've never seen him converse with all the security in an entire casino to try and gauge an uprising. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I'm not a
making
fan of
this up.
casinos. They're just full of depressed taxi drivers. But
Wankers.
anyway, nah, they're just sad. They're unhappy men. According to a local legend, one drunken gambler accidentally dropped his coins under the table.
Oh,
When he went down to retrieve them, he saw that his opponent had cloven hooves for feet.
what the hell?
What?
It was the devil!
How,
And,
how does that work?
well, the devil's meant to have hooves.
That can't be.
Well, I'm not saying it was true. The man allegedly died on the spot.
Well, what? He saw
No,
the hooves
no,
and thought,
that-
nope, that's too much for me.
Now,
And he died.
That
Nah,
part
it
I
is.
do believe.
Okay, okay.
They also shared the same venue as the Freemasons.
Of course.
Oh,
Yeah, in secret society time.
in the Eagle Tavern.
Yeah.
Good
Apparently,
guess.
the function room was normally used by the Masons, but the Hellfire Club turned up, and the Masons didn't like this.
How old are the Masons?
Oh, I don't know. They've been running things for a long time, allegedly.
Do they predate masonry?
I don't know.
I don't know.
This annoyed the Masons, though, them using their pub for meetings. So the Masons, during a meeting of the Hellfire Club, dropped a live goose down the chimney and onto their fire.
Oh God! Imagine the noise.
Well, apparently they were having a meeting. A goose fell onto their fireplace and just ran around on fire, going like, "Mah, mah, mah."
Okay. How big? How wide must this chimney pot have been to fit a whole goose down
Pretty
there?
big, because geese are fucking massive.
And how do you even manhandle a
You
goose down a?
Well,
Oh.
I don't know if I mentioned before, but my dad is one of these bird men who puts. That doesn't mean he's got feathers.
My father's a birdman. He
Was-
fights Peter Griffin on top of moving traffic.
He doesn't like.
Was he imprisoned in Alcatraz?
No, and he doesn't have feathers and fight crime either. But
Oh.
he used to.
Is he Michael Keaton?
Yes. Well, he used to. Oh, that'd be interesting. He used to put rings on their legs so they could count them for surveys. I don't know. But I once asked him if you had to fight a goose, how would it work? And he said that's a 5-man job. So
Geese, not even once.
yeah.
Goose may be aggressive.
I mean, this will come out later, but Philip Wharton, who was the founder, eventually tired of the antics of the Hellfire Club, and he chose to become a Freemason. But a lot of things went wrong, which led to this.
Oh, you don't say.
Yeah, this is why Philip Wharton left. No, there's other stuff, but
Too much for him, was it?
well, what was known as there were lots of kind of copycat groups that gave him a bad name. So Wharton, who found it, got out.
That really annoys me, actually. When you're onto a good thing and other people just try to do the same thing and
Yeah,
water it down, it's just rubbish.
I don't want to hear about them though. The Irish Hellfire Club. I mean, the original one was in Ireland, but they call themselves the Irish Hellfire Club. Was founded in 1735 by Richard Parsons.
Wait, they were the original But they still called themselves the Irish Hellfire
No, they were the
Club.
new one. Like there was one
Oh.
based in Dublin, and then
I
like,
thought you
we're
meant-
the Irish Hellfire
I thought
Club.
you meant they were the only Hellfire Club, but they had to just point out that they were Irish as well, because that's important.
Oh no, these are kind of their successors.
I'm
Okay.
just weirdly expecting Richard Harris to jump out of nowhere. and start
Oh, he
punching
would
you
have
in the
loved
face.
it if he
Yeah.
could have been in it. It was founded in 1735 by Richard Parsons, the first Earl of Ross. This is something that, if you've listened to the Francis Dashwood episode,
What's on what?
a lot of it was built around making fun of Catholicism because
Yeah.
they hated it.
The teachings of Cathol and everything it stood for.
Well, its members drank a drink called Skulthine, which is a mixture of whiskey and butter.
What was the one we were talking about
Whiskey
earlier
and
tonight?
butter.
Yeah, it's heart sacking.
Was it like Glean? We were talking about that earlier
What?
tonight.
I don't remember that.
That was the cough syrup codeine drink that we were talking
Oh,
about.
wait, 'cause I'm
rappers
diseased.
in the 80s
Well,
drinking.
I had to decide between Bose and cough syrup, and I think you get really ill if you mix them because that's purple drink.
So he's drinking one and the other.
Yeah, I'm drinking Bose instead because purple drink makes it quite poorly.
Yeah,
But,
apparently it really messes your brain up. doesn't it?
Well, it turns out, because in America, the stuff you can get in pharmacy is mental. They're actually drinking codeine with booze there, so
Jeez.
yeah, it's real bad for you. But anyway, according to the book that Matt was reading from, the Brewer's book,
Brewers!
they gave themselves over to eccentricity and violence. Ross was described as a sorcerer, a dabbler in black magic, and a man of humour and frolic. He liked to invite senior priests such as cardinals and people like that who are hot shit in the local area around to his house to bring him round, and he'd answer the door in the nude.
I'm picturing Ross Kemp.
Sort of similar, just like a fight, you
Hey,
fucking
Peggy.
woody.
My mum's Peggy Mitchell. I'll
That
punch her in the
reminds me a
face.
bit of. Have you seen the Simon Pegg film Run Fat Boy Run, where at
No,
the
but-
very end the
Bum,
guy
bum,
just
bum.
invites the ladies up onto his back and he's like, well, come on up then. And then the camera zooms out and he's wearing a shirt but he's literally nude from the
Oh
waist
no, I
down.
haven't seen
It's
that.
like that, yeah.
Oh,
Reminds me of Reese fans in Notting Hill. Firm, tight buttocks.
oh, I'll get into buttocks later.
Not
On,
later though.
on his deathbed, Ross received a letter from his neighbour, a cleric called Dean Madden. This priest accused him of being a blasphemer, profligate, I'm not sure what that is, and a gambler. The letter was addressed just to my lord, so Ross had it put back in the envelope and re-delivered to the Earl of Kildare, who was a devout Christian.
The ultimate insult. Oh,
Just there you go, Kildare, you can. Oh, he didn't
not
talk like
even
that,
return to sender.
Hang on, who did he return it to? I missed that. I
The
was
Earl
making-
of Kildare, who was apparently very well liked. Apparently, he was a nice Christian man. This letter was like, "You're a piece of shit. You're going to hell."
Where is
He's
Kildare?
in Ireland. So
Like
The thing-
County Kildare, yeah.
The thing I've never understood with titles is that you don't have to live there to be given the title.
That's
At least
bizarre,
when
isn't
yeah,
it?
just own it. Yeah.
aristocracy is
It's like
just
you own this place and you've never been there.
bastardism abounds.
I've got another one. Boop, boop, boop.
Sorry, carry on.
One was James Warsdale, who was a playwright. He was a member of the club. He caused a stir when on a visit to Mallow, which is another place in Ireland. Warsdale's landlady caught him in bed with her daughter.
I just fell. I can't
I
explain
fell
it.
into a fanny. I'm terribly
I don't know
sorry.
what happened. I had an epileptic fit, and then suddenly the sheets were off.
Well, she had a fit. She chased him through the streets, beating him with a shoulder of mutton.
It reminds. Brilliant.
I hope that was it. I bet they were very meaty blows she was landing.
I lament the rise in the cost of mutton.
I've got a bad one. This one was a bit of a bad blue bloke. He should have his own episode, really. Richard Chapel Whaley. He was known locally as Burn Chapel because of his Sunday morning habit of riding around the countryside and setting fire to the thatched roofs of Catholic churches.
Sick burn, yo.
Is he just like
Sorry.
Is he just like the Varg of his time, I think?
Yeah, he pretty much... Well, this is Sunday mornings where there were people in there. He'd just ride up and go, oh, they're funny, and he'd just throw a torch into the roof.
I say, leave my chapel alone, will you? That's 17 times this Sunday.
Oh, this is where it gets a bit fucking creepy.
Ooh.
Whaley often attended a hunting lodge where parodies of Catholic ceremonies were said to be carried out by defrocked priests. And just to put it into context, I'm sure everyone's aware, the landowners in Ireland at this time tended to be of English and Scottish descent, and they were Protestant.
Ooh.
So the local people, they were kind of, we will do what we want to you, ah! And that's pretty
Cathol
much all.
didn't look kind
No, he
on
didn't.
those people at all.
This is sad. It was claimed at the time that they sacrificed cats, and on one occasion a dwarf.
Why do people ever go at cats? What did cats ever do to anyone?
Yeah, Stefan's pointing at something.
I'm just rereading that. So this was that Whaley fellow, was it?
Yeah.
Did
However,
he
there's-
have whale-like
well,
tendencies?
there's different versions. Like on the plus side,
Did he blow out of a hole in his neck?
he did apparently. Yeah.
So he sacrificed the dwarf, or he was part of this group.
Allegedly. Oh wait. Well, a lot of people say that story's bollocks.
Okay.
Because people say that the Hellfire Club, really, it was a club for rich people and they didn't want people poking their noses in, so they'd say, oh, they're doing weird stuff now.
Yeah.
However, there were recent archaeological excavations there.
Did they find some very small bones there?
Yeah, they found a small skeleton with a large head with a hole in it.
Well, that's all right, because you know what the answer to that could have been.
Is that your painting?
Well, it could
Could've been a big baby.
Could have been trepanning. However, what I would like to think is that if only Matt's character had been there, he could have walked up and said, "No, those are the bones of a goat." And then,
Those are the bones of a goat!
and then that would have clarified everything immediately.
I felt like I did that in a dramatic style to fully convey the meaning
I'm
of
glad
such
that you
a
did.
discovery.
It was very enjoyable.
It's-
Thank you, Matt.
Here's one thing that our judge might enjoy. Apparently, although some people say that they sacrifice cats, other people say that they would often have a chair empty and they'd bring a cat in and they'd treat it as a valued guest and they'd pretend it was the devil. So just, the devil, relax and port.
But did the cat wear a gown and a cap in the full academic
don't-
Oxford
that's-
style?
No.
True, actually.
Sorry,
see?
I'm coughing. Oh, this is where it gets creepy. The locals believe that what went on in this hunting lodge would drive a normal person insane. The lodge was built in 1725 by Joseph Connolly, who was the Speaker of the Irish Parliament.
Not Billy Connolly.
No!
The building was constructed using stones from a nearby Neolithic burial site.
Oh my god.
And a burial cairn was destroyed in the process. So, yeah, pretty bad.
That's a genuine way to risk curses.
Yeah.
Speaking of curses, shortly after it was built, the roof was destroyed by a storm. And then 4 years later, Connolly was dead. The story goes that anyone associated with the Hellfire Club would be doomed to death or madness.
Can I do a mild tangent here?
I'm just going to make notes there in capitals. Neolithic curse.
We were once at Lincoln Castle,
Yeah.
and we
Sorry,
had
coughing.
a load of actors playing like King John and the Archbishop of Lincoln. Including, that's where that line stemmed from. I wonder where the king is. He's probably off shitting himself, my lord, filling his hose with turds. So I think at that event, one of our reenactor friends, Pete, we knighted him at that event in the old
got slapped
reenactment.
with a big old bit of chainmail.
Yeah, chainmail glove. They did a burst photography thing, and you can see his like jaw going. And after we knighted him in the old, reenactment tradition, God was obviously so angered that a brief storm genuinely kicked up a, what do you call it when a small gale picks up, and it suddenly blew all the tents really hard. And the only thing that was broken was Pete's pottery jug.
God was angry.
It was angered.
Big-headed man.
Yeah, he is an enormous man in all proportions.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of
So are his kids.
our reenactment days, back when I used to set you on fire, according to one story, this is back to Whaley, who was a lunatic. A servant once tripped over a drunken guest at this hunting lodge.
I hate those drunken guests.
Sorry, I'm still coughing, I'm diseased. Unfortunately, though, he spilt a drink that was on a tray onto Whaley's coat. In retaliation, Whaley poured brandy all over the servant and then set him alight.
Oh, this is a weird hark back to when I set a man alight. But you've also set me alight, so it all goes
many
around.
times.
Yeah.
Once with a kind of grenade.
Just as an aside, I do stunt work. I have done stunt work in my time. I will do fire, but I don't do falling. Carry on.
I once had to explain to someone that I set fire to you once with a smoke grenade, and they were asking, how did that work? It went wrong.
I was once in
This went wrong.
I was once in a Saxon meat hole once, and
course you
I was blowing on the fire, and someone chucked a a flashbang grenade.
Oh my
into the fire.
god!
And I decided, do I protect my ears or my eyes? So
jeez.
I shut my eyes and I turned my head, and it just went bang right next to my ear. So my hearing may be slightly affected.
It's a bit like I went to uni with these silly Finnish boys, and over there they have to
Did they say Holigan Gorligan?
I don't remember them saying that. I was very drunk at the time.
I'm just imagining some soggy biscuit routine where they did it in a silly way.
Well, actually, no, they did
I've got to finish.
Well, they did two things. Well, they did. I've probably discussed it on the podcast before. They taught me a Finnish drinking game called Slaps, where you just stand in a circle and slap each other.
They taught you this, did they?
Well, no, an hour in, I was getting a numb face and just asked, "How do you win?" They went, "No one wins slaps," and it just kept on going. But
wins slaps.
what I was getting to is they all had to do national service when they were about 18, which is the
They do.
stupidest
My
age.
Finnish friend had to as well, actually.
Did they all get sniper training like the White Death?
I don't believe so. Well,
He was a Finn, wasn't he?
it was, but the only thing that I know they were trained in was that they had to get used to smoke grenades. Like they had all kinds of things like CS gas in them apparently, and they would do a thing where they had these videos on their phones where they say, "Look at this!" And they all it looks actually quite nice there. They all got their own bedrooms. But when one of them was asleep, they'd throw a tear gas grenade in the room and hold the door and just feel like because they're very silly boys. Anyway, going back. Oh no, I missed it there.
First one to pass out doesn't get a toffee.
Here we are. Whaley actually had a son who was apparently even worse.
Where's Whaley?
Yeah, and Whaley was the man who set a man alight because he spilled a drink on him.
He's quick.
Yeah, well, the son of Richard was apparently even worse. I've just said that again. In 1789, Buck Whaley, Richard's son,
1789?
yeah,
Jeez.
he travelled to Jerusalem for a bet of £10,000.
To avoid the French Revolution.
Well, no, that was, well, I don't know. And he played handball against the Wailing Wall.
What? Is that allowed?
No! I
I
mean,
get the feeling that's frowned upon. There would probably be monks saying, don't do that.
I mean, these days there's a lot of security there, but it's a very holy place, and he basically played squash against it, going, ha ha, very good.
If you're Poirot, you get to ram your walking stick into the wall.
Did he? Oh, naughty Poirot.
If you're Kenneth Branagh Poirot.
Naughty Poirot. In 1796, Buck Whaley fled Ireland. He claimed that he'd encountered the devil in a church in Dublin, but he was also in financial trouble at the time, so that's probably why I went. He'd taken on a bet that he couldn't live on Irish soil without leaving Ireland. Whaley paid a fortune and bankrupted himself, building a house on the Isle of Man that became known as Whaley's Folly. So what he's done is...
I wonder why it became known as that.
Couldn't live on Irish soil without leaving Ireland.
Yeah. How... Well, do you want to know how he did it?
Did he basically sell his land to Ireland or something?
No, he shipped boatload after boatload of Irish soil to the Isle of Man to build the foundations of his house.
Did he win the bet or did his friend run away?
It doesn't say.
Where was that?
The Isle of Man.
No, where on the Isle of Man?
Oh, I don't know.
Where
they do the scary racing where they all die.
I demand further research because I know someone who goes to the Isle of Man regularly, and
One of my grandfathers was from the Isle of Man, actually.
Oh, that explains a lot.
Manx cats with no tails.
You're interested in weird cats with too many toes. Buck Whaley died of cirrhosis of the liver at the age of 34.
Well, we're all going that way, aren't we?
No.
I
respect the fact that his name was Buck.
Oh, well, actually, within the Hellfire Club, a title that they gave out to members was Buck, but also Devils. So it made sense that he called his son Buck.
Like a deer. So.
Yes, sorry, I'm coughing late. I've also got a correction from episode 3 when I covered Francis Dashwood.
Ooh.
I said Francis Dashwood shot a waiter in a restaurant.
Oh.
Turns out it was one of Buck Whaley's friends who was trying to impress him. He said, "What's this, Buck?" and shot a waiter. And
that's pretty outlandish.
So Dashwood was one of Whaley's friends?
No, Dashwood didn't know him.
Oh.
So Dashwood was actually an alright guy. This guy, Buck Whaley, was a psychopath.
Oh, so he shot a waiter who was one of Whaley's friends.
If history is involved and you have money, you can just openly shoot people in a public place. I suppose they paid for that, so they get to have their fun.
No, he actually didn't get away with it, he added £50 to the bill.
Oh, well.
There we go.
I mean, how much was a pound back then compared to a pound now?
It was a lot of money, but he still shot someone. But we're going to find out where things started to go really wrong.
There we go.
They had a member called Henry, the 4th Baron of Santry. He
the
became
4th Baron of Santry had one
in a silly club for drunky men. Well, he apparently was the one who ruined the Hellfire Club.
He took it too
You
far.
too far. I mean, we like to burn servants, we like to shoot servants, but you're out of control. Apparently, Santry was a complete psychopath. We didn't burn him. Well, this is similar. Sorry, I'm coughing loads. He had a servant known as the chairman, who was hired to carry him around.
Oh.
So he was just... I mean, I don't really know what this means, because at the time they had sedan chairs where like 2 people would carry you, but it sounds like he just carried him around like a baby.
Isn't this weirdly linking to like Oliver Reed, where that guy had
His silent
Sir
German
Percy?
sailor man.
Who had Sir Percy? Do you want to meet Sir
That
Percy?
was his little Cockney mate who was his bodyguard.
Yeah.
Who was the guy
the one
who
he
used to
threw
get-
off a balcony?
I'm sure we've done one podcast on a guy who was carried around on a litter. Who was that?
Probably Oliver Reed.
It was probably
I know
Oliver Reed, wasn't it?
he got carried away by...
Could have been Crowley, for all I remember.
maybe.
I don't know. I didn't die.
I know after...
Not in a biblical sense.
I know after Oliver Reed paralysed his bodyguard by throwing him off a balcony.
Do you like that, boy?
Yeah, you like that, boy. He hired a German sailor man who was silent, and he used to carry him away from fights.
You know what?
Yeah.
You know what? I kind of wish I could have gone back a few decades, just sprung out of nowhere in front of drunk Oliver Reed and said, "Fight me!" and seen what his reaction would have been. I could have made a career off that.
Yeah.
Poor
Would have
sweet
been
Oliver Reed.
amazing.
He was a drunkie man.
Here's a vaguely dark foreign guy who wants to fight me. I respect you now. You want to fight me? Be on my film.
No, he was terrifying. I found an interview recently. You know how towards the end, no one worked with Oliver Reed? In the 80s, he made a film with Saddam Hussein.
No way.
Yeah, he did.
Oh.
It's about the history of Iraq, and he's the bad English general who's all like, "Oh, I'm going to take you over." So,
Is that when he kept getting his knob out?
well, no, that was another
Probably.
film. Well, he was basically told, in this country nobody drinks, but in this hotel you can.
Oh.
But he'd make all the actors drink, and I forget the name, but there was another actor who was in the film, and he wasn't enjoying it, and he said at night he just wanted to go to bed and go to sleep, because he was like, I'm working for a dictator, I don't like this.
Patricia Routledge.
Well, Oliver Reed used to try and get in his room, and he said once he was asleep and he heard the door get kicked open, and Oliver Reed had appeared with just a jug of booze, when you will drink with me. He said, no!
I'm still... I know this is going back to an episode that we long ago covered, but I feel like I would have liked to have just seen Oliver Reed.
Yeah,
I think-
me too.
If he was friends with you, he was quite good friends, unless you were his best friend and he threw up a balcony, but that's...
He would have put all these guys in the Hellfire Club to
I've
shame.
I've not really given us many random tangents this evening, but allow me to present you with one now, because I've had enough beer. There was a time when I went to a hotel in London with a girl I was seeing at the time.
Was it
And,
her?
I couldn't possibly comment. But we went there, and we'd had a lovely evening. Made our way back to the hotel, and then obviously that's when you think, oh yeah, something might happen here. I'll have a lovely evening with this girl. We'll just maybe at that point in the evening, any sane person, an ordinary person, would just like make conversation and chat about all sorts of things, and then then you end up whispering those sweet nothings in her ear. What actually happened was we got in the room, and then I turned the TV on. I can't remember why I did, but Gladiator was on. So then I spent about half an hour. I spent about half an hour telling her about Oliver Reed.
Priorities.
My name is Maximus Decimus Meridius.
Exactly, and that's how much Oliver Reed is important to me, and it's mostly because of this podcast.
The thing I love about Gladiator is when I can't remember her name, but she says, "Maximus, stop! Is it really so terrible to see me?" And he goes, "No, I am tired from battle," and it's just. What a manly excuse to not talk to a woman. It's just, no, I am tired from battle.
I'm going to start using that. Yeah.
I like to think that Oliver Reed, the ghost of Oliver Reed, was just saving you from a venereal disease.
It probably was.
Russell Crowe is like a modern day
In
Oliver
some
Reed,
ways.
except without the drinky drink.
Have you heard the interview when he storms out because he managed to get on local radio in Nottingham when he was playing Robin Hood, and they said, what accent was that meant to be? He's like, it's a Nottingham exit. No, it wasn't, Russell. And he just goes like, fuck you!
I've got a weird admission that at work I like to sing out loud the he fights his directors and he fights his friends. He fights his fans. It's a problem no one understands. His favourite two things are fighting and fighting round the world.
Oh yeah, fighting around the world. I remember that.
Luckily, none of us would get in a drunken fight.
Eventually,
I really
eventually
like
we're
Russell
gonna-
Crowe and I would love to meet him one day.
Yeah, I think so
No,
too.
that's it. Going back, Santry, who was a psychopath, he had this servant called the chairman. He used to carry him around. One day, the servant was too ill to work, and in the 18th century, that meant extremely ill.
Oh no!
Santry then went, "That's all right, old boy," and
Oh,
offered
God.
him a drink.
It sounds
I'm
like
looking at my paperwork. And then apparently he then forced the servant to drink an entire bottle of brandy so that it spilled all over his clothes and bedding. This is a man in bed and he was just forcing brandy down his throat. Santry then lit the bedding and walked out the house.
jeez, what?
And he bought all the witnesses because, this is a baron, he could do what he fucking wanted. He was also well known within the club for working out if anyone was of lower social standing than him, and if he felt slighted by them, he'd force them to drink brandy until they vomited.
This man, he sounds like the brandy killer.
Yes, all he
know,
did was make people drink brandy. Well, actually, no, there's another thing they did.
He sounds like a Bernard Cornwell villain.
He's
Yeah.
very much like the bad officer. Like, I don't like this sharp.
Exwell.
He's a bugger.
Exwell.
He's a bugger
Exwell.
station. He shall not last long in this regiment.
There's a lot of fun to be had in shaking someone for no reason. Going, Exwell, bloody Exwell.
I'm sure there
Oh, killing the bastard! Bastard!
In another incident, Santry was laughed at by another member of the club.
Oh dear.
Unfortunately, this man couldn't stop laughing at Santry, but Santry worked out that he was of higher social standing and he was better connected.
You don't know what Santry looked like by any chance. do you?
Probably, I imagine that he was like Percy in the Green Mile.
Oh,
The baddie
okay.
who, his dad runs the prison. He's
Guy
a
who's never that remarkable, but
he's
wanted.
a wrong'un. He's a bloody wrong'un.
Is that an inferiority complex or a superiority
Well,
complex?
Santry basically was furious, but this guy was more important than him. So he
Ooh.
took out his sword and stabbed a passing servant.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Well,
I
this
can't believe people like this were allowed to exist without.
still do.
Oh,
They just go to non-silent with Bill Clinton.
they're not
those
allowed
days.
swords
Yeah.
anymore, which is probably why. That's a problem. One person ruins it for everybody else.
Then you
and
can't
now
all wear swords.
Yeah, I really wish we could have swords.
Well, apparently this was the final straw. It kind of ruined the Hellfire clubs in Ireland at the time. Santry was put on trial and sentenced to death.
Yay!
However,
by death by what?
his due to his wealthy connections,
Death by spooning.
he was able to escape and live his life out in exile. However,
What?
while there, he was plagued by gout and depression and said that it would have been better if he died. Can you guess where they sent him?
Elba.
Russia.
Nottingham.
Whoa! How is it exile to be sent to Nottingham? I don't understand.
He felt all his friends had abandoned him. I set fire to few servants.
That's ironic because that's where all my friends live. Maybe
Yeah.
we're all in exile together.
Maybe we deserve it.
I don't know. Nottingham's a lot like purgatory, but never mind.
I'm trying to make my way back here.
Now all of these people that have been listening to our podcast plotting our demise know where we live.
They already know. Moving on.
Exactly Nottingham, England.
Moving on.
There were loads of copycat Hellfire clubs. One of them in the University of Cambridge was blamed for starting an anti-Methodist riot. And I've never heard of anything like that. Matt's just put his felt tip on my bit of paper he's written poo.
Or if you look at it upside down, he's written ooh.
Ood.
Ood.
The mysteries of the Ood. Anyway,
Carry on.
his adding time in the third episode I talked about Sir Francis Dashwood.
Yes.
I found out some more stuff about him, but they'll be real quick.
Oh, this is getting
before-
very scraping the
Well,
barrel.
no, before resurrecting the Hellfire Club in England, Dashwood tried out being a member of several gangs in his youth. He was in one.
How do you try out several gangs?
He didn't like him. There was one that was bananas. There was this movement in the 18th century called Mohawks. And they were basically wealthy young gentlemen.
Sounds like Crocs for people with mohawks.
Yeah. Well, they actually had Mohawks. They were wealthy young gentlemen who dressed up as Native Americans and just murdered people. Anyway, Mohawks were wealthy, violent young men. They were kind of like an 18th century Clockwork Orange. They would dress up as Native Americans and they would just start fucking murdering people with axes and knives. It was insane. They were wealthy young men.
It's a bit untoward, isn't it?
Well, their aim was to do the most possible hurt to their fellow creatures.
What era was this?
Mid-18th century.
Oh.
In particular, this is weird because they dressed up as Native Americans. They targeted foreigners.
Ooh,
One Portuguese visitor to London had his ear nailed to a wall.
Whilst he was wearing it.
I assume so.
Wearing it is his ear. It's attached to his head.
Well, it was on his
my
head.
ears proudly, I'll have you know.
And he was then stabbed to death.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see.
Dashwood did sorry, I'm diseased. Dashwood didn't enjoy being a Mohawk, so he got out and he joined the Blasters instead.
So the Mohawks just went around actually murdering people.
They pretended they were Mohicans basically and went like wow 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 and just kill people.
That's mental.
It's insane. And
I mean, not wanting to add fuel to your fire, but that's actually insane.
no, at the time it was viewed as a normal thing. It was
no,
kind
it
of.
can't have been.
Well, you know how
That's-
rich young men who've got different coloured genes at the races always behave terribly.
I can't.
It was
believe
similar
it.
to that.
It's like the worst samurai movie you've ever seen, where they've been chopping off arms and legs of villagers everywhere.
Oh, they just do what they wanted. There's loads of novels from the time where it was just a background thing.
I find it hard to believe that there wouldn't have been like the tough, strong villager.
No.
Who just emerged with the blacksmith's hammer and just went,
Yeah.
"I'm gonna cave your head in."
Well, these kids, like their dads were earls, so they could do what they wanted.
Ooh, not in my world.
Anyway, Dashwood joined the Blasters briefly, and they were just flashers. So they just go up to people, open up like a big dressing gown, go, "I'm a blast of this!" Ah!
Which
And that was what they were
incidentally
doing.
is not approved.
Yeah, don't do that. It's really illegal. Although I don't know if I mentioned the podcast before, there's a sex museum in Amsterdam that has a flashing robot. And it's kind of like a shop window dummy, but its arms open up a coat and it shows its horrible limp willy. What I find offensive is that it's got a Yorkshire accent.
Oh,
So it's in
I hope love.
no,
Dinner bag,
yeah. No, it's in a foreign country. It's got a flat cap on. He goes, love, look at this. And he goes,
Why is it every dirty Yorkshireman has that laryngitis?
Hello, love. Can I buy you? Would you like a chocolate? I believe that.
Can I bump you?
Belgian.
Here we go. Here's a licorice also. Can I shove it up your fanny?
Would you like to admire the painting on this bus stop while I casually lean against you in a sinister manner?
You're making my lung disease worse. Anyway, eventually Dashwood got out of there and he set up his own club. Although, if you remember from episode 3, do you remember Dashwood?
Yes, because you mentioned him several times.
Well, he built a rude garden that had boobies in it.
Oh,
like the
yes,
shop
I
built.
do, actually, yeah.
He brought a priest up to the top of his tower and said, "Here, got to look at my garden properly." And he built boobs. Turns out he did more than that. His garden was shaped like an entire naked lady.
Ooh.
And he had bushes between the legs.
Oh.
And they were also squirting water.
I
So
see.
to represent urination or maybe something
Fountains.
else.
What mystifies me about fountains back in like the 17th or whatever century is the plumbing involved. How do they do it?
It was because they didn't care about ordinary people. They thought, well, either
No, not that. How did they make the water run
I don't know.
and flow up into... I don't
I
understand.
presume they could afford it. They thought, well,
Pumping systems? I don't know.
Did they just have peasants with bellows just going...
well, apparently they weren't going all the time. He waited for a signal and then he shot milk out of the big boobs. So he had servants ready to go.
Do it down.
Also, this priest woke up to Dashwood pouring a mixture of brandy and sulphur down his
Not
throat.
brandy again.
I'm sorry, what?
Apparently the priest was like, "Oh, what are you doing?" He said, "It's my invention. I call it brimstone."
Did he die?
They woke up, but imagine you've been knocked out and you wake up with a man just pouring brandy down your throat.
And sulphur.
Also, one last Dashwood fact: members were encouraged to drink a minimum of 3 bottles of wine per night.
Okay. I can have 2 bottles of wine in a night. I still
used
play
to.
Dungeons and Dragons.
When I was a
But
student,
3 bottles.
when I was a student, there was a shop near me where you could get 2 bottles of red wine for a £5.
Was it Bargain Booze?
It might have been.
The woman at Bargain Booze on a certain street that I won't name, she knew me there and she used to give me winks.
Oh no, that's a bad sign.
She was nice.
Yeah, I mean, you know you're living the high life when the woman at Bargain Booze gives you a winks.
Bargain Booze knows who you
Have
are.
you ever listened to the Lancashire Hot Pots? They got a song about Bargain Booze.
No,
She gives me
I don't know what any of
Harvey's
this
Bristol creams. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I'm so diseased. One other fact
You know
about the bloody Hellfire Club.
They're the enemy of our people.
Well, actually, sorry, one organisation that he joined before, but he stayed in, was the Beefsteak Society,
Oh, that sounds quite nice.
where he met Hogarth, who was quite a famous engraver.
Okay.
And Hogarth actually did pictures of him because they were friends from the Beefsteak Club.
Was that just a
Scott
club where
me
they
like-
ate steak?
That's all they did.
Sculpt me like one of your French steaks. The Beefsteak Society, what were they called?
Beefsteak Society.
Yeah, they
What a
sound
club.
relatively normal.
Well, then again,
Compared to all the other shit,
he
yeah,
brought
absolutely.
his beef skills to the bloody Hellfire Club. One of those
What's,
things.
what's your favourite cut of steak?
I don't know.
Have you had one recently?
I just like medium rare. I don't know where.
I like a nice sirloin that's between medium and medium rare.
Yes, me too, me
Yeah.
too.
Oh, can I tell a mean beef story?
Yeah, go on.
I used to
Yeah.
date someone, and she had a grandparent who was a bit rude, and once said about her, "Price of rump steak, she's sat on a fortune." That kind of ruined Christmas, but never mind.
I love how you and I were just looking at each other like, where's this going? What's going to happen here?
I didn't know what was going to happen. I thought you were going to slap someone across the
That's
face
a
with
beef
a
story.
side of beef.
Anyway, Dashwood was into his beef. So one
Was he? Okay.
One of the signature dishes in the Hellfire Club was called the Devil's Loins, and it was a big cut of beef, but they cut it so it looked like a bot, like a big bottom,
Okay.
like a human bottom.
Then what did they do to it?
Oh, they'd eat it then. I
They probably
see.
slapped it a few times first with
I
some
don't
seasoning.
understand.
Watch it jiggle.
I don't understand that thing that seems really prevalent in like American jock culture where they all get naked and they like shove things up each other's
Well,
I
butts.
don't get that. It's like,
Well,
that's so gay. Like, I
Well,
mean,
the explanation is that they're
Not in a derogatory sense. It just
Yeah.
just seemed like inexplicably
Well, it's-
a load of guys get together and start.
well, it's unhealthily repressed homosexuality.
basically, yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of that over there. It's
I
sort
don't
of
know
like
if we should have that in the podcast.
yeah, we'll let it that. But yeah, it's sort of people who aren't addressing what they're into really. Anyway, last bit is one of my favourites. He's called Sandwich,
Well, the Earl of Sandwich.
the famous Earl of Sandwich. This is the man who invented the sandwich.
No
Did
way.
he?
Yeah, he did. I don't know if anyone knows the story.
Before him,
Please,
nobody ate
please.
bread with anything else.
Regale us
Well,
with the
this
story.
is what basically the story's probably bollocks because I assume that the people who worked in the fields were already doing it, like putting food.
If
between-
anybody's listening to this podcast and doesn't know how the sandwich was invented, I don't know what that says about.
Then boy, do we have a
Well,
surprise.
everyone knows the
Yeah.
story. Sandwich was basically a gambling addict. He would gamble for more than 24 hours.
Sandwich.
He was kind of told, well, no, you've got to stop for dinner. And he didn't like sitting at a dinner table, so he wanted just his beef put between slices of bread so he could keep gambling. He loved it.
Yes.
He was known as the most unpopular man in England.
Really?
Yeah, and also
That's quite a title.
as mischievous as a monkey and as lecherous as a goat.
A monkey being shot at in a tree.
Yeah. Well, another monkey story. I don't know if you remember from episode 3. There was an incident. His friend Dashwood announced one day because they used to pretend to do satanic stuff, but they didn't really.
Oh yeah.
Dashwood one day said pretty much, "No more games. We're going to summon the devil." And people didn't think he was serious.
Okay.
And then I'm sure everyone's already heard this story if you've listened to the previous episode. But basically,
They haven't.
they did a satanic ceremony, and then not the lights were off, the candles were put out. Dashwood then opened a cupboard and then took out a baboon that had been shaved
Oh god.
and put in a little cape.
Who?
And he threw it at Sandwich, so this baboon went mad, climbed on Sandwich's back, and Sandwich, unfortunately, disappointed Dashwood because he thought this was the devil, and he said, "I'm not your real servant. I'm but half a sinner." And then the monkey left him alone, which is weird. But Dashwood...
His grip was restrained.
Well, Dashwood wouldn't forgive him because he said he lost his monkey.
He went out a window.
Yeah, went out a window, just went off.
He escaped.
He just went off.
Well, if only he'd had a shotgun at the time, that would have obviously brought him back.
See, the people I feel sorry for are the people who had the job of shaving a baboon.
Can you imagine that?
Can you imagine how strong a baboon is?
I don't think we could shave my housemate if the three of us held him down. So, a baboon, that's a whole other story.
I can't imagine the level of expertise that it would take to carefully shave a baboon's arse. It's impossible.
Yeah, that's true.
It's different colours.
Never mind. This explains kind of why Sandwich was bananas. His father died when he was... just realised that. That's good.
We don't often get a badum-tish on History'sMaddest.
That was unintentional. It's the disease.
We had one in the first episode because I edited it in. It was the burglar alarm, I believe.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that doesn't count so much because you're the judge.
Sandwich's father died when he was 4. And then his mother remarried and had no more contact with John. So his name was John Montague. This might explain why he didn't get on well with women. Pretty much.
It could do, yeah.
Mammy left him. He was very into, this is grim, sleeping with virgins.
Okay.
So he'd hire new sex workers.
Deflowering.
He liked to say the corruption of innocence being itself my end.
That's a bit creepy.
Yeah, this is creepy as well. He also paid prostitutes to beat up his bot. Give him a little slapperoonie back there.
What with?
Whips, apparently. Yeah.
Sorry, carry on.
He also got the job 3 times as a First Lord of the Admiralty. Yeah.
Wait, he was First Lord of the Admiralty.
Yeah.
How was he made First Lord 3 times?
Because he was the Earl of Sandwich.
I guess.
Fair
enough. I'm sorry I asked.
Well, this is a bit awkward. He was widely blamed for losing the American Revolution because he was running the Navy and
he was busy shaving baboons, playing around with shaved baboons.
He was also mates with Benjamin Franklin, who was in the Hellfire Club. So
the American Revolution wasn't lost. How did he lose it?
Yeah, they did.
Well, from our side,
yeah, the British lost.
Oh, sorry. I
don't know if you're aware of this,
I thought you meant he defected or something.
No, I mean, I'm not sure when. There's this country called America, and they got away.
What? This sounds like a newfangled operation.
Disgusting!
It'll never catch on.
But, he was running the Navy at the time, and one issue that the British had in North America was that they weren't getting enough troops or supplies. They were pretty much cut off for most of the war.
Yeah, frozen to death.
Sounds a bit like something we're seeing now, actually.
No. But anyway, he was described in the Brewer's Book, the Brewer's Book of Roads and Villains, as
Cads, Bounders and Miscreants.
unique
and Teletubbies.
Unique in the history of the Royal Navy for incapacity. Also, the historian David S. Blackmore wrote that seldom has any man held so many offices and accomplished so little. Although there's other people who say that it wasn't really his fault because during the American Revolution, the Royal Navy had to fight the French, the Dutch, and the Spanish.
I would not like to have to fight that war, to be fair.
Yeah,
against all
he had a bad job.
Powers that are already there.
This is where my sympathy for Sandwich kind of ends. He got a friend to do a lot of the work for him, and after the Americas were lost, he blamed him and said, "It wasn't me. I made this man do my job for me. He lost the war."
Was this friend invisible?
Was he a dwarf? Is that what you're saying?
Mr. Sprinkles. Mr. Sprinkles lost America.
Was he made out of a sock that had like woolen eyes sewn into it? Mr. Sprinkles.
Well,
where did he go?
I've got something that might bring you around and like him a bit more. He was violently anti-democratic, and he hated the common man.
Scum! They're addicted to rum, sodomy, and the lash.
He wanted to be an old school feudal lord.
Yeah, he was born the wrong time. One thing that might explain this is that there was a riot at one point where his house was torn to pieces. So, yeah, by a mob. Presumably to get rid of him, Sandwich was sent abroad to be a diplomat for several years.
Oh.
Unfortunately, there was a team of other diplomats who had to follow him to smooth things over because he
Sounds
was
like Carton de VR.
well, he was constantly causing offence. What upsets me is I can't find what he did.
Oh, how can you constantly cause offence?
I don't.
What a nutcase.
I think he was kind of like a less charming Prince Philip,
Oh,
pretty much.
yeah.
A factor in this might have been, apparently, people are saying these days,
Yeah.
he probably was suffering from venereal disease at the time.
Oh.
So we had the old syphilis brain.
Syphilis!
Well, they pretty much say, oh, here's the French ambassador. Yo, shit! Ah!
Doesn't it cause you to grow weird bone horns or something like that?
I don't
One
know.
thing that I really love about this last thing you've just told us is that he was sent as a diplomat with a load of other diplomats who they could have done his role right if they were smoothing it over, which shows that one, they didn't value his
Well, no one
skills
did.
as a diplomat, but two, instead of just having someone else do the job, it was so important for him to be as far away as possible that they had to have a whole team of people to make it so that he just had something to do somewhere else.
One thing
Reminds
about-
me of Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Or any politician.
Oh, that's
today.
it. We've got our good boy points.
Hey.
He's bad, kids. But
Orange man bad.
yeah, we're
We've
good.
just lost
We're good
50,000
people.
listeners.
I hope you wank us off now that we're the good guys. But going back to Bloody Sandwich, there are times when I feel sorry for him because when you read about the stuff that went on the Hellfire Club, a lot of it was at Sandwich's expense. So like, fucking hell, Sandwich, you lost the monkey, you shit, you idiots, you fucking cunt, you stupid fuck. And it was kind of like that constantly. He'd be like, can I run the Navy? Yeah, okay. Anyway, you fuck.
I would really have loved to be able to punch these people in the face very hard repeatedly.
Oh, well, someone did verbally, in a way. There's quite a really famous
It's not the same
burn.
thing though, is it?
Well, there's a very famous burn that kind of went into local legend at the time.
Robert Burns.
No, it wasn't. It was an actor called... How could you? Oh, he's such fucking dad. He was in a conversation. He basically tried to have a go at an actor called Samuel Foote. And he said to him, I've often wondered well, I'll see it in his voice. I've often wondered what catastrophe would bring you to your end, Foot. The pox or the gallows? And the pox was basically venereal disease, like the clap, syphilis.
It seems very widespread.
Well,
at
Foot,
some point.
well, this kind of damaged Sandwich's reputation. Foot then said back to him, that would depend on whether I embrace your mistress or your principles.
Oh, that seems like an eloquent put down.
It is indeed.
Well, that's why we still hear it today, because he got him good. One final thing, though. At the beginning, I mentioned there was a curse. Anyone associated with
yes.
with the Hellfire clubs
Yeah.
would go insane or die.
Well, is it because they
Nothing
all,
to do with the excessive
Is it
drinking.
because they
No.
they all screwed the same hooker who had rampant syphilis or something?
Well-
Or the ape that they found. In
Maybe.
lots of it.
Yeah, there we are. He actually, he was a bad bloke, not really Sandwich. His wife went insane. I mean, it was nothing to do with the
I'm
fact
not
that...
surprised.
Yeah, well, he was basically constantly banging prostitutes dressed as nuns.
So the problem was that back in this day, his wife went insane. She might have just had opinions of her own that didn't approve of
just
Sally's behaviour. And they went,
well-
this woman's insane.
Well,
Ah.
at the time, he had a mistress who was quite a famous... Well, she was becoming a famous singer. Her name was Fanny, which is a bit weird.
Fanny Craddock.
Yeah, and his wife didn't like this, but it caused a scandal for two reasons. His wife was in an asylum at the time, and they were like, you're not really being very supportive, Sandwich. Look at my new mistress. Way. Also, she was 16.
Oh,
So, doing the old Errol Flynn.
what, his wife?
No, his mistress. His wife.
mistress.
His wife was in an asylum and also apparently dying of other diseases. And he would take to the theatre like, look at the new younger model, eh? Hey, she's good, isn't she?
Oh man,
no.
that's grim.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
But then this is all the old curse. His mistress had a jealous suitor, and one day outside a theatre in London, she was murdered.
Oh,
Yeah, he was basically like,
it's even worse.
I want to bang you, and she pretty much said, well, I live in Sandwich's house, and he pays me a load of money. This is pretty good. He went, I love you, and stabbed her. So.
I don't understand that that response.
I don't either.
This
It strikes me as very American.
This
I'd
just
say.
Strikes me as a bloody simp.
This
That's what it is.
just
Well
just
said, sir,
furthers
well said.
my desire to go back in history and just off miscreants left, right, and centre.
Are
Like
you saying
the
that
Punisher.
you want to be like 18th
time
century Batman?
Well, Batman
No, I
doesn't
want
kill.
to be the
unless he's-
time-travelling Punisher.
Oh yeah.
John Bernthal, if you're listening to this podcast, I would love to take on your character in a historical
John
English...
Bernthal's whole job is staring into a camera and being weird, like, oh, I'm
No, John
upset.
Bernthal has mastered the art of going... "Whoa!"
Right. Well, thank you very much for your candidate, Simon. That was a great segment.
Take them as a whole.
Yeah.
They're one big man.
Well, I can't treat them quite like that, but I will do my best to
They-
sort of evaluate them on
they
their
like
merits.
holes.
I'm sure they did.
So, we're back to the judge's decision, are we?
Indeed, we are. So we've heard from both of our entrants here, and we've got the candidates of Mr. Buckland
I'm
and
still diseased.
the members of the Hellfire
A
Club.
bunch of random guys.
A bunch
How
of random guys.
could you?
Although your guy was rather random as well, if I may say.
Your
Right,
man
I-
shot a monkey and that's unacceptable.
So I've thought of a different way to do this segment to how we usually do. And usually I read through my ridiculous notes and try and make them into actual sentences and sort of explain my thoughts. I'm just going to read my notes this time, as in,
Oh, no.
in bullet point form, and we're going to
And
see how it is.
I also feel like the contribution is over at this point, and neither of us should contribute
Alright,
extra
guys.
facts.
I think that's fair,
Yeah,
and we
it
can
is.
agree to that.
Go on, Stefan, what do you
So
think?
we're going to go in reverse order. We'll start with Simon's Hellfire Club members. If we go to my first page of notes on them, this is all a bit jumbled up. So Hellfire Club. I mean, I started making general notes about them. My favourite bit was Masons dropped goose into meeting down chimney,
was
caught
really-
fire.
The effort involved must have been quite
Yeah, I don't
monumental.
mess with the Masons.
That's true, but these guys obviously didn't. It worked out okay for them, I guess.
They killed Tom Cruise.
They were, if
Miraculous.
anything, they were killed by the curse rather than the Masons. So,
They
Plan.
They killed
Executed
General
man.
Patton.
but yeah, where were we? So,
Mission accomplished.
first up we have the Earl of Ross.
Sorry.
He was in the Irish Hellfire Club, was he not?
He
Or-
was.
Yeah.
He established it.
So he was said to be a sorcerer, did black magic, and he was a man of humour and frolic. He invited priests, cardinals, and other religious folk around, and answered the door in the nude.
More importantly, he would never acknowledge that he was naked.
That's when people
On his
didn't have
deathbed.
widespread knowledge of extreme drugs.
Yeah.
And they just went, he must be a sorcerer. Look at his face.
And-
He's got
and on his
covered in
deathbed-
white powder.
He sent his rather accusatory letter about blasphemy to the Earl of Kildare for some reason.
He was
which
a
we're not
nice
quite
man.
sure.
Oddly, that
Yeah.
reminds me of the letter from the Cossacks to the...
Yeah, a little bit. But it's like someone else wrote the letter about you and you sent it to another
Well,
guy.
the main thing is,
it's
apparently-
like
Not as
lazy
good,
trolling.
therefore.
Well,
Not
apparently,
as
the,
good.
I agree,
the
I
Earl
agree.
of Kildare was a devout Christian, and he thought it'd be hilarious for him to just get it in the post.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's the Earl of Ross. James Warsdale is a playwright, and my favourite thing about him was that a landlady caught him in bed with her daughter and chased him through the street, beating him with a shoulder of mutton. I just think that's great.
That's magnificent.
Not even a frozen
Richard
shoulder.
Richard Chapel Whaley, he was one of my favourites. Rode around setting fire to thatched roofs of churches, sacrificed a dwarf ? Which might not be true.
Allegedly.
Why is
And,
it always
and
dwarves?
other
They
things.
always get
cats.
the short shift. Whoa, whoa.
So he did some sacrificing, set fires to churches. But he allegedly, him and his guys, treated cats as valued guests and pretended they were the devil. There's also, in caps I've written, Neolithic curse, because of them building this place
I
with
feel
They
like-
destroyed a bloody
Neolithic
cave.
burial
I
mounds.
feel
Yeah.
like we're summoning our silly friend Aston, who's obsessed with the mystery of
As
the
an arch-
Druids.
And he also poured brandy over a servant and set him on fire.
Oh.
So then we go to Buck Whaley. So, quite a lot of insanity runs in this family, clearly. Played handball against the Wailing Wall, fled Island,
That's pretty mad.
fled Island, encountered devil. Built a house on Isle of Man, on Irish soil, by shipping it in, obviously. Died 34 from cirrhosis of the liver.
Oh.
So him continued. Servant known as the chairman, who carried him round on a chair.
I want to meet the chair.
I
Well, he's
think
dead because he set fire to
I
him.
think so far from this Hellfire Club, the Earl of Ross and the Whaleys,
They're a
they're
total
leading the
score
way.
of madness. No, it's a total score of madness. It's like a shotgun.
Yeah, I guess. But
Hits you with multiple pellets.
so then Henry IV, Baron of what was it? Sorry,
I think Salky. It'll go back.
Yeah,
There you go.
Speaking of shotguns.
Bloody.
Go on, you can find it.
Santry.
Santry, yeah.
He did sound like a bit of a mad lad, to be fair.
Oh, well, he was
So-
thrown out being too mad.
He was all right, but he got his servant to down brandy, stabbed servants, and then lived his life in exile, basically.
Okay.
Well, apparently he was a nice man when he was sober. You have a drink and he's like, I'm going to kill your servant.
Now, having said all of this, I think when we consider the members of the Hellfire Club we've talked about so far, you've presented each of them very well, but we know a little bit about each one, but I think the last two, Dashwood and Sandwich, they're the ones that can potentially hold a candle to Matt's character, who he presented.
Oh, poor
So we're going to analyse them in a bit more detail. Dashwood, obviously, we've done an episode on already. I'd just like to point out we have some notes here about things we have to remove from his segment because they were a bit spicy. But
Well, Dashwood.
I think it was segues that we went on rather than about him.
Can
But
I add
this
one
has
final
been-
thing
Go
about
on, one
Sandwich?
more. This is your last fact. Go on.
Sandwich had a rival politically. Yeah, I've drawn a Willy ejaculating to
All
a
right,
smiley face.
carry on.
I was bored. And this rival's called John Wilkes, and he might get his own episode.
John Wilkes Booth.
He was related, actually. But Sandwich got him in trouble with Parliament by saying, you know he's in the Hellfire Club. He's a wrong one. Oh, you better stop him. Throw him out of Parliament.
Oh God.
Yeah.
The best thing for me is that whenever I imagine any of these men, I always imagine your voice being the
How
voice
dare
that comes out of it.
I always imagine you as Peter O'Toole.
Yeah,
Oh,
I can
no.
see that.
Just
Anyway,
Ocean.
So back to Dashwood.
drunkenly trying to...
So
Like down
Dashwood
the
was in
box.
with the Mohawks, as we know. He killed a few people. Well, they stabbed a guy to death after nailing his ear to the wall, apparently.
Yeah, apparently that's bad for you.
And then leaving the Mohawks, who did these deeds,
it's fine.
he joined the Blasters, which is just a new word for flashers, as far as I'm
Oh, well,
concerned.
apparently,
That's all they did.
apparently when they got the Willy out, they go, have a blast of this.
Yeah,
I shall
okay.
blast my pants off in the power
So,
of my nakedness.
Obviously, there was the garden shaped like a naked lady, and
Sexy.
Matt Berry did that in What We Do in the Shadows.
But
so,
was it piss? Was it piss? Who knows?
Was it bat piss? Francis
Oh,
Dashwood.
yeah, you needed bloody...
So-
Francis
Victorian
Buckland's
Secret.
dad would be
one of
able
my,
to tell.
I think my favourite thing about Dashwood that you've mentioned today, excluding things from the other episode, is the time that a priest awoke to him pouring brandy and sulphur down his throat.
Because that'll help.
Yeah, that's definitely going to help, isn't it? That's
What did
such a
he
nice
call
thing
it?
to do.
Brimstone.
Brimstone.
They call it
I've
brimstone.
invented this. It's called brimstone.
Credit where credit's due.
That's one of the best things I've heard in this episode. That was great. 3 bottles of wine per night was the advice that was
That's the
given
minimum.
for the guys in this club. And then he was also a member of the Beefsteak Society.
I will
See,
say...
that's just Miller and Carter bullshit.
I will say, he was very sensible, though, because within the Hellfire Club, they had nightly monogamy. Each man was given
Monogamy.
each man was assigned a sex worker, and you were thrown out if you flirted with somebody else's prostitute.
Yeah,
That
I
seems
see.
relatively civilised. I think
It
they should
is.
lose
So
points.
I'm going to
for
carry on anyway because we've discussed most of these guys up to this point. So
that. Yeah.
the reason I've
extra
left-
points.
the reason I've left Sandwich to last is because he's my favourite of the Hellfire
Poor
guys.
sandwich.
I think if there's anyone at this point that that is a good competitor for Matt's
Sweet
candidate,
Sandwich.
it's Mr. Sandwich.
Oh, that poor
I
man.
say Mr. Sandwich. What was his real name? The
John Montague.
Earl of Sandwich, John Montague. So
He invented what you'll get in your boots meal.
I'm going to call him Sandwich because that's a funnier name to have.
He loved his gambling.
So, like, obviously, he was a hell of a gambler. He invented the sandwich.
I
That's
don't
quite
think
a
that's
claim
that
to fame.
mad, though.
Well, he might...
I mean, I'm sure people ate things with bread before
You
him.
insane man for
They-
putting meat between bread.
There's
Oh,
arguments.
how could you?
It's like me taking something that everyone does and then giving it a name and then
Well,
saying, I invented that.
He's a fraud.
There's a
Yeah.
strong argument that he did travel to the Ottoman Empire as a younger man, and he probably saw people eating stuff in bread there, and well, I will invent a sandwich. And he probably saw like a euro or a gyros or something.
Probably
Maybe,
some
maybe.
kind of dog. I don't know.
Probably saw a kebab.
I
So,
want to go on a grand tour.
I think any man that's described by his friends as
Contemporary.
mischievous, mischievous as a monkey, lecherous as a goat. That's quite a description.
I was going to say that sounds like your flatmate, but he's not lecherous.
Yeah.
He's a
He's
nice
not
boy.
lecherous.
Although
never
he
knew-
did once put a biscuit tin over a spider and punch it.
Well, we've talked through that. So,
So did your housemate.
so the baboon climbing on Sandwich is one of my favourite parts, especially because Sandwich thought he was Satan, and then like in a weird parody of if you thought you were having a religious experience and you'd seen God himself, you might confess all of your sins to this baboon, to this shaved baboon. He confesses that he's only half a sinner and he's not his true servant.
How much of that did we mention in a previous episode?
I don't know.
Sandwich basically I left out because I thought Sandwich will come back later.
I don't listen to our podcast.
I'll give you that.
So, yeah. Anyway, so the fact that a man who a man who once told a baboon that he thought was Satan that he wasn't his true servant, the fact that he could also be First Lord of the Admiralty, that's quite a thing in his favour. Imagine being that insane.
He quailed. He wimped out on the deal.
Well, maybe he was just being faithful, to his religion.
Hey, not a naughty man. I'm all right.
A lot of you know that he copped boats.
Him losing the American Independence War, that's
wasn't entirely his fault.
Yeah, I know, but I mean that's quite a good thing, right?
Modern historians say that he
mad?
was out of his depth, and it wasn't really his fault.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've got one more. While he was during the American Revolution, when he was First Lord of the Admiralty. Actually, sorry, it's 2. I know we said we wouldn't.
He was the 3 times
I
First
know.
Lord of the Admiralty. Yeah.
Well, in this time period during the American Revolution, 3. Well, you'll like this because it's similar to a war that you're following quite closely now.
Mm-hmm.
3 ships sank under peacetime conditions. So they weren't in combat, but they just sank, and they were flagships.
I'm at a disadvantage here because I don't have my book.
Yeah, it's believed it was due to disrepair. Also, it's terrible, I've forgotten the name, but there was a famous Scottish diarist who, during the American Revolution, ran into Sandwich in Edinburgh, and he was with 3 ladies who he described as ladies of pleasure. He said he came out of a tavern laughing, like, ah ha ha, with his arms around him. He said, "You're the First Lord of the Admiralty," and he said, "This is a fishing trip."
Oh, if only I had my hardback book to add extra facts to the judging round.
Yeah,
I would.
don't worry, Matt. Simon always does this.
But yeah, some people said that he did his best and he came up against a wall of bureaucracy.
Yeah.
Other people say he was just banging prostitutes.
No, I mean it was quite good that he managed to kind of lose this war and still not, kind of face consequences for it.
He's not the only man to bang prostitutes.
Well, actually, he might be a factor in this. Before the Royal Navy got really good, they actually hanged an admiral who was fine at his job. It was kind of to set an example. And this was post-Sandwich. Sort of like, do your fucking job!
Yeah, because they don't want another sandwich, did they?
Yeah. My man managed to be mad without banging.
But my absolute favourite thing about him is that they decided to send him as a diplomat with a whole team of other people that could have basically done his job, just because obviously they couldn't get rid of him and they just needed to have him as far away as possible.
The idea was
I can respect that. I can respect that.
That poor sweet Sandwich.
Anyway, moving on to Matt's candidate.
Such sweet, sweet sandwiches.
So,
hey, look
Buckland.
at all those notes.
I think, so we have a lot of notes here.
I can't stop coughing.
So, I mean, the fact that within the opening...
will be left in peace.
The fact that within the opening remarks of Matt's presentation of Mr. Buckland, he'd already spoken of him bottle feeding porpoises in the railway waiting room and strolling down the street with a dwarf and a giant on his arm. A friend to all heights.
Why do weird things happen to dwarves?
I quite like that.
Because
I think,
they live special, happy lives.
It shows
I don't know if that's true.
It shows his kindness for species that are not human and
Clearly.
also...
Oh my God, Stefan!
No, not the dwarves, the porpoise.
They clearly attract...
The porpoise, I was talking about the porpoise. But he was... and he was a friend to all heights, so it sounds like
a jolly man.
Quite a jolly, benevolent sort of character.
Where are you finding?
We have a man who knew about the fighting behaviour of newts, the cannibalistic propensity of rats, the best method for killing a boa constrictor. He could tell you that if ever you
How
needed
do you do
it.
it? Do you
Shag
release
their
that?
own siblings
I
as
don't know.
well.
If only we could ask him.
You can't bum a snake.
And also pagan burial rites. I mean,
I feel like this guy raises more questions than he answers as well. So
and he could identify that something was actually goat bones, right, when it was supposed to be the relics of a saint or something.
Yeah,
so
that
he sounds like bizarrely, he sounds like a lot of strange Gothic women that I've known in the past. Actually. I wonder if he left badges to decompose in a box so that he could harness
If you
the bones.
combined this guy with Sandwich, like lives with a load of cats, there's shit everywhere, likes a slap on the bot,
the world isn't ready.
That's a girl for Stefan today.
They were at polar
Oh, no.
opposites of social decency, though. This guy had a nice family life.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, there was
that's true.
shit everywhere. It was like, do you remember when the Osbournes had a reality show and they didn't?
Well, maybe he was a Marxist, I don't know.
Ball again.
So anyway, he was said to be somewhat dishevelled. Well, that's relevant, isn't it?
Tousle head.
Dishevelled and jovial. I particularly am fond of the part where he wished he had some frogs on him to feed to the storks. But
instead-
thankfully he did have a matchbox full of toads, which were the size of beans. I like that.
That implies that if you can't get frogs, you can make do with toads.
Yeah, it implies that he usually has a pocket full of frogs, and instead he was in his backup supply, which is the matchbox.
Toads are evil.
Yeah.
You know, they hump each other until they drown.
Have you ever seen those slow motion videos of toads trying to jump like frogs?
No.
Just go, "Blah."
Have you heard of a ball of toads? It's basically a clump of
Oh,
toads
God.
where they all just hump each
It
other.
sounds like a lot of people that I know, actually.
Yeah, they sink
anyway.
beneath the decks.
Lumpy and covered in water.
Yeah, you said it, man.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about his father briefly. So, William Buckland, who obviously had quite a big impact on his son.
Yeah.
He was the one who could identify these are the bones of a goat when he was then escorted out of the room of relics by furious
Yeah, there was a
priests.
shrine to a
Um,
saint.
A man who could dip fingers in the blood of martyrs, which turned out to be
Bat
bat
urine.
urine.
That's got to be a detective show one day. Just
and-
like it's blood, Detective Buckland.
But we know
Well,
that
That's piss.
we know that
Piss taste.
we know that Francis Buckland then did the same thing, especially with the piss tasting. So
Yes, he did.
So he certainly learned after
Actually,
his
as
father.
children, they were trained to taste piss, weren't they?
Well,
I'm
probably,
pretty
yeah.
sure that gets you put on a list.
So, nowadays it would, yeah.
Or maybe paraphrasing.
So his father is a man who also gave guidance on beating without permanent injury. So
About the
I
back
assume
and
his son
shoulders.
Francis had a bit of a rough upbringing in terms
Yeah, because
of that.
Francis was permanently disfigured by his uncle.
Yeah, exactly. He was the exception that proves why the rule should exist.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of my favourite sitcom, Mr. Gormsby.
Oh yeah,
Where
we should do an episode on him at some point when we do
God.
fictional guys.
That's not dancing, it's epilepsy.
in this amazing sitcom, he gets banned from caning children. He says, "Well, I'll just have to punch them with my bare hands. It's rudimentary, but it'll do the job."
is a bit tasty, isn't it?
So moving on from there, we're getting near the end now.
Anyway.
Will Buckland decorated the tables with lizard feces, which Francis Buckland would have had to grow
Well,
up
that's
with.
like the sort of film you like to do.
Yeah. So anyway, my favourite part of this whole tale is that the children, the siblings that Buckland had. I assume he had some siblings. I can't remember, but they rode around on dead crocodiles instead of hobby horses.
Did they have wheels attached to them?
I hope they did, because what are they doing otherwise? Are they just like sliding around on I don't know, like varnished alligator corpses?
Well, you said they had the
I mean,
corpses of dead crocodiles to ride around on. So
They must have just been like scooting along on them, or did they put wheels on them? That would have been a feat
I
of
don't know.
engineering
This
at the time.
requires
Surely.
more research. I feel like he promotes intrigue.
They didn't have
wherever he
skateboards
goes.
back then, so they must have. I don't
You
know.
know, Sandwich would have had the good grace to finger one of those crocodiles for a laugh.
Oh,
Let's
God.
get in contact with Tony Hawk and ask him the best way of riding
To ride a crocodile, yeah.
He knows a band that only does Tony Hawk covers.
No, right. So anyway,
Better than Tony Hawk.
apparently he clearly took his
Tony Hancock.
his gleeful nature from his father and his curiosity. There's also the fact that he shared rooms with rats, owls, buzzards, magpies, raccoons, by choice, I would add.
Yeah.
Then later on, a bit more crazily, eagles, jackals, pariah dogs, whatever they are,
A
chameleons.
pariah dog. It may have been a prairie dog.
Yeah,
but I've
maybe
got
a prairie dog, but this-
written down on my notes.
Also, chameleons, marmots, monkeys, and a bear called Tilgath-Pileser, named after an Assyrian king.
He does.
The fact that the bear turned up in a cap and gown to what was it, his graduation? Or
It
something?
was the Oxford meeting of the British Association in 1847, where he was. There was
Can
an
I just
attempt-
say, I love the line in your notes. Lord Horton attempted to mesmerise him. This made the bear angry.
No!
And
I love the fact that the bear just thought, I won't stand for this.
How do you
Christ.
mesmerise a bear?
Right, I've been summarising for nearly 20 minutes now. Let's finish this off. So he tried to be a surgeon and fainted. He had two monkeys, Jacko and Jenny.
Oh.
They drank beer except one of the days they drank port. And
Sunday.
when they tried to escape, he would shoot at them with a shotgun to terrify them.
Oh, you know Matt.
He was also a creationist. Tried to reintroduce wildlife that was no longer on our shores, which is it's an interesting
Kangaroos
endeavour.
and shit.
That could even have been something that. It's a rare moment where one of your candidates might have done something good that actually impacted the world in a positive
I'm
sense.
not sure about the squirrel thing though.
The grey squirrels is a bit of a problem. Yeah,
evil.
But
They
yeah, and
did
then
so much damage.
he also studied animals by
So
eating
bad.
them. And had a house full of shrieking animals and pickled corpses. What a great phrase to end on.
Yeah.
I think, making my judgment here, I think
I've got a whole menagerie of people.
Yes, that's part of the problem.
Platoon of lunatics.
so. I think if we take all the deeds of the Hellfire Club into account, arguably they somewhat outweigh those
Yeah.
of Buckland. However, I'm not saying they win, right?
Was Buckland cursed?
Oh,
The
Because-
smell of animal piss, yes.
The
no.
effort of a team can quite easily trump the efforts of one man.
think
However,
about how much piss he consumed in his life.
well, that's true.
There's more piss than man.
It brings a whole
Smelled
new
like a
meaning to the
BuzzFeed
phrase
writer.
on the piss. But if we take them all individually, I think, including Matt's
women do
candidate, I would put. We'll go through the list.
No, more recap. Hurry up. People have been listening to this, they're very naff.
So I think the other members of the club,
Matt just crossed out my drawing.
apart from Dashwood and Sandwich, I would put the others kind of lower. So Dashwood and Sandwich, they're very much up there. They're good candidates.
What about the man who set fire to servants?
Buckland is also a great candidate. I think.
Yeah.
We've already done an episode on Dashwood, and even if we took him in isolation with the new things you presented, I think it's between Sandwich and Buckland, if I'm honest.
Come on, during a world-changing war, he's too busy. Oh, his last one. There's certain conspiracy people who say that
He's trying really hard, isn't
who
he?
say that America
These
was.
Yeah.
sound very like
No,
last-ditch efforts.
there are people on YouTube
try
who
and
give
drag it back.
really weird lectures that look like they were filmed 20 years ago, but they were filmed 2 years ago, and they've got an overhead projector.
How much would you have loved to sit in one of Buckland's lectures, though?
Oh, I really would.
But how much would you want to go on the piss with Sandwich?
I would have liked to have done both.
He
of
would
these
blame
things.
you though.
How
the
much
next
would
step.
you love to get Buckland pissed and see what he did to his monkeys?
Maybe the thing is, you'd go around Buckland's house. You'd be like, "Sit down there, boy." You'd sit in like some elephant shit, and then you'd see the face of a monkey just floating in a big jar.
Yeah, but most people
I
wouldn't
think-
stop tasting the elephant shit.
My summary here is going to amount to this, I think. So,
This man
So,
ate piss.
Sandwich and Buckland are very similar in their mischief, and I think if we take all of their deeds into consideration that you've listed for us this evening,
Wait, it's
man
history's maddest bastards.
Yeah, but
How
this
did
man
Buckland change
changed
history?
natural history.
Oh no, Sandwich changed history by letting America happen.
that's a nice try, but you can't literally throw America as the trump card.
Oh,
See
God.
what I did there? But
He's gone! He's gone!
He's gone.
I don't want to hear about him anymore. He's gone!
I am going.
Not forgotten.
I'm going to say that within the Hellfire Club, I think there's a lot of great characters there, and there's a lot of kind of bravado-based insanity. I think in Buckland we have a rare example of a man who's truly out there. His mind is in a completely different place to all the rest of us.
Yes, he was completely out of this world.
And he also managed to be quite a kind sort of bloke in a strange way.
Yeah!
He wasn't
Happily
shooting
family.
monkeys.
When he wasn't shooting monkeys.
Or skinning them and turning them
I
into
think we have a
tablecloths.
rare level of eccentricity here that we don't often see on
Shut
this
them in a cupboard
on this
and
program.
stick them in
So
the
I'm
bag.
going to give the win to Buckland.
Yes! Yes!
You only did
I
that.
win, you lose!
You only did that to cheer him up.
Yeah!
However,
Oh, it's about
I
bloody
think-
time.
I think Sandwich actually comes higher than some of the other candidates we've done on this show before.
Yeah, up the wall at a height
So
of
when
6
we
feet.
eventually do this bloody leaderboard that we always tease you with and we never actually
Oh,
organise,
we must
I think
do that at some
Sandwich
point.
is certainly not going to be at the bottom. He's going to be above the middle.
One day.
Put that in the comments.
No. One day we'll cover the nemesis of Sandwich, John Wilkes, who
John
hated
Wilkes.
Sandwich.
Oh,
I look
Was
forward to this.
betrayed by Sandwich.
Yeah.
well,
It
we'll
was
see.
meant to save the sandwich, not betray it.
That's a story for another day,
God,
I guess.
think so, guys. I think this episode was about 3 hours, and we were aiming for like about an
No,
hour
we'll
and a half.
We'll just chop out all the racism and we'll be down to like 5 minutes.
Let us know if you think these episodes are too long, or if you're happy with our.
And let us know if you think
Far
we should do
too
a
long.
separate Ask Doug podcast, because that'd be hilarious. wouldn't it?
That'll just be him trying to live his life, and we phone back like, Doug, would you bum a garden? No.
Pretty much, yeah.
Doug?
Anyway, this is us signing off from History's Maddest Bastards.
What
Next
ho?
time.
Doug?
Hello!